Welcome to Mia Horror Stories. To make it easier on your eyes, this video plays against a black screen, so you can close your eyes, get comfortable, and let the story take over. But don't relax too much, the ending might just catch you off guard. Stay with me until the very last word. The first thing that felt wrong wasn't the email. It was the timestamp. I was standing in line at a Walgreens in Somerville with a wire basket of cough drops and a travel-size shampoo I didn't need, watching the self-checkout screens cycle through their little ads. Someone's kid was coughing, wet and emphatic, into the open air like he was auditioning for a medical textbook. The place smelled like floor cleaner layered over stale candy. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket, and I did the normal reflex. Half a glance, thumb hovering, brain already deciding whether to ignore it. DNA results ready. View your MATCHES now. Normal. Fine. I'd mailed the kit 3 weeks ago. Everyone at work had been doing it like it was a party trick. But underneath the subject line, the preview text on my lock screen showed the time the message was sent. Delivered 2:14 p.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow. It was 2:13 p.m. now. A minute early isn't an apocalypse. Servers hiccup. Time zones are a mess. I told myself it was some Gmail caching thing. The way your calendar sometimes insists a meeting is starting in 5 minutes when it's already halfway done. Still, I stared at the word tomorrow until the letters stopped being letters and started being a shape. The cashier called out, "Next." A man behind me had a Bluetooth earbud in, talking loudly about a roof leak. The kid coughed again. I shoved my basket forward, scanned the cough drops, listened to the beep, listened to my own breath inside my scarf. I kept the screen dark, kept my thumb still. It wasn't fear. Not exactly. It was that tight, practical feeling you get when you notice something out of place, your front door not quite latched, your car window cracked open in the rain. The break from normalcy is tiny, and that's why it sticks. I paid, grabbed my bag, and stepped outside into sharp February air that made my eyes water. The street was wet and gritty, snow piled into gray humps at the curb like old laundry. Across the road, a bus sighed to a stop, and the doors exhaled warm air. That's when I unlocked my phone. My name is Caleb Mercer. I'm 32, and I've always had a complicated relationship with information. I like knowing things. I like spreadsheets, neatly labeled drawers, the satisfying click of a password manager auto-filling a login. I like the illusion that if you collect enough data, nothing can surprise you. It's a flaw dressed up as a personality trait, and it's gotten me into dumb situations, like handing my saliva to a company because my coworkers made it sound like a BuzzFeed quiz with science. I work in IT for a mid-size university in Cambridge. Not the glamorous kind where you're inventing the future, more like printers that won't print, faculty who swear their email ate an attachment, and students who think Wi-Fi is a moral right. I'm good at it because it's all systems, inputs and outputs, causes and effects. When something breaks, you find the point of failure. People assume that makes you calm. What it really makes you is restless when something doesn't fit. I walked 2 blocks toward my car with the Walgreens bag swinging at my side and opened the email while I was still moving, the way you shouldn't. The screen loaded in the cold, sluggish for half a second, then snapped bright. A clean header, friendly font, confetti-style dots like I'd won something. Your results are in. Under that, New DNA matches available. I tapped. The app opened to a list. Names, little circular profile icons, shared DNA percentages. Second cousins. Fourth cousins. A cluster of strangers that might as well have been a list of usernames on a forum. I scrolled, more out of obligation than interest. Then the screen did that subtle refresh like it had just pulled new data. A new tile appeared at the top, pinned like it mattered. Close family, 49.8%, shared DNA, the relationship estimate underneath. It didn't try to be cute. Child or parent, my feet slowed without my permission. I stopped at the edge of a driveway while a car backed out, the driver glaring at me like I was a post. The name on the tile was Immerser, no photo, just a gray silhouette. And under the name, in smaller text, there was a detail I didn't remember being a thing. Year of birth, 2026. I read it twice, then a third time slowly, like changing my speed would change the meaning. 2026. Not unknown, not estimated, a specific year. And not just any year this year. I looked up at the street, at the normal world, a woman tugging a dog that didn't want to leave a snowbank, a FedEx truck idling with its hazard lights blinking, someone's music thumping faintly through a closed car window. My phone suddenly felt too bright, like it was betraying me. I did the math without wanting to. If it's 2026, and if it's accurate, then the person would either be a newborn now or not here yet, depending on the month. My thumb hovered over the match. I didn't tap. My skin felt too dry inside my gloves. I pulled one off with my teeth and rubbed my thumb against my palm like friction would reset me. Okay, I said out loud, because sometimes you talk to machines the way you talk to yourself. Okay, that's okay. A bug. A data entry error. Someone fat-fingered a year. 2006 turned into 2026. Or the user typed it wrong. Or the app pulled 2026 from a template. Or more likely, this is how it labels someone who hasn't filled out their profile, defaulting to the current year like those fake birthdays people put on Facebook. That last explanation was so plausible, it almost made me angry. I wanted it to be a glitch. I wanted it to be nothing. My brain sprinted ahead anyway, as if running far enough would find a wall. I tapped the match before I could stop myself. A new page loaded with more detail, a bar showing shared segments, little colored strips with chromosome numbers that meant nothing to me. Under potential relationships, it repeated parent-child in bold. Under shared matches, it offered none. Like this person existed only in a clean, empty room. Then, message Immerser. A white button. Innocent. The Walgreens bag crinkled in my other hand as my grip tightened. I realized I was standing still in the cold, breath fogging. I looked around like someone might be watching me look at my phone. I wasn't doing this for fun. I hadn't even wanted the kit. 3 weeks ago, in the fluorescent break room, I'd been cornered by a conversation that started as small talk and turned into that thing people do where they treat your personal life like a puzzle they can solve with suggestions. Wait, you don't know your dad, Tara had said, peeling an orange with executive confidence. It's not like that, I'd replied, and then immediately regretted speaking. But it was like that. My mother had raised me alone in upstate New York. She'd always been steady, practical, and she'd always been vague about the man whose last name I carried. Not secretive in a melodramatic way. More like she'd decided it was a drawer that stayed closed, and drawers stayed closed because that's what kept a house orderly. Now she was 61 and recently had a health scare, nothing catastrophic, but enough to shift the air around her. It made me look at the closed drawers differently. It made me feel irresponsible for not at least labeling them. So when my coworker Josh slid the kit across the break room table and said, "Dude, it's easy. You might find half-siblings. It's kind of wild," I'd taken it because I didn't know how to say, "I'm scared my mother will die and take the only map with her." That's the private fear I don't announce. Not that I'll be alone. I can handle being alone. It's that something important about me is missing, and I won't get another chance to find it. Now, staring at Immerser, year of birth, 2026, it felt like the drawer had opened itself while I wasn't looking. My phone buzzed again. A text. "Mara, you alive? We're still on for 3, Mara." Right. Today wasn't just Walgreens and existential dread. Mara Egan, 34. Female, appeared in my life a year ago when she moved into the second-floor unit of my building and knocked on my door, holding a misdelivered package like it was a peace offering. She works as a nurse at a clinic in Boston, and she has the kind of blunt kindness that makes you stop performing. She's also the one person I've told the messy version of things to about my mother, about the blank spot where my father should be, about how I sometimes feel like a photocopy missing a corner. We weren't officially anything. We were careful, slow, the kind of relationship that grows in the quiet spaces between shifts and exhaustion. The kind where you start leaving a toothbrush in someone's bathroom, but you don't call it moving in. And lately, with Mara, there had been a question hovering in the background, unasked but present, like a ceiling stain you keep pretending you don't see. Kids. Not now, maybe, but someday. She'd brought it up once gently after a friend's baby shower, and I'd felt my whole body lock up, not because I didn't want them, but because the idea of being someone's father felt like being handed a job title I hadn't trained for. My thumb hovered over the text box. I typed, "Yeah, running a minute late, on my way." Then I stared at the DNA match again. The app had a little info icon next to the birth year. I tapped it. A pop-up appeared with cheerful corporate clarity. Birth year is self-reported by users and may be approximate or incorrect. Okay, fine. That supports my bug theory. It also didn't explain the rest. I scrolled lower. There was a section called Family Tree, empty. Then Profile Details, mostly blank. But under Location, it said, United States, Northeast, which is about as specific as saying Earth. I locked my phone, then unlocked it immediately, like I could shake the page loose and have it change. It didn't. Immerser stayed there pinned, insisting. I got to my car, an old Subaru with a dented bumper and a faint smell of coffee that never leaves, and sat for a second with my hands on the steering wheel. The engine was off. The cold seeped through the door. I could hear a distant siren and the close sound of tires moving through slush. This is the part where a normal person would close the app and go meet their girlfriend and file it away as weird internet thing. I'm not always a normal person when information is involved. I opened the match again. The button message Immerser waited. A direct line to whoever had taken this test. Whoever had enough shared DNA with me that the company's algorithm, built for the boring truth of adoption and affairs and paperwork mistakes, had placed them in the most intimate category it had. Parent-child. My throat tightened in a way that didn't feel emotional so much as physical, like a muscle had decided to brace. There were mundane explanations. There always are. A lab mix-up. 2 samples swapped. A clerical error. Another Mercer out there, unrelated. And the system had stitched identities together like mismatched socks. Or some stranger had clicked the wrong box and typed 2026 because their hands were cold. But even mundane explanations have consequences. If my sample was wrong, then my health report could be wrong. If it was swapped, someone else might have my DNA in their account. If the match was real, then the birth year was the least of what didn't make sense. And if the match was real, then it meant there was a person out there. I stopped myself. I didn't want to finish the sentence. My phone buzzed again. Mara calling this time, I answered, trying to sound like my mouth wasn't dry. "Hey, you're not dead. Good," she said. I could hear traffic on her end, the muffled rhythm of turn signals, her voice slightly breathy like she'd been walking fast. "You said you were grabbing cough drops. You okay?" "Yeah," I said, automatically. Then, because she can hear the lie like it's a different pitch, I added, mostly. I got my DNA results." There was a pause. "Oh, and it's weird," I said, watching my own reflection in the dark windshield. A tired man in a knit cap, eyes too focused, like he was trying to see through glass. There's a match. Close family. Like really close. But the profile says the person was born in 2026. Mara didn't respond right away. Background, I heard a crosswalk chirp, and then her footsteps stopping. "Born this year?" "Yeah, Caleb," she said, and her tone changed. Not alarm, more like the careful tone she uses with patients when they're reading something scary online. "Is it possible it's just a typo? Like 2006? That's what I'm telling myself," I swallowed. "But it's listed as parent or child. Half my DNA." Another pause, then, "Okay, that's not a second cousin issue." "No. What does the company say?" Like any disclaimer. "Self-reported birth year," I said. "So technically it could be wrong, but still." I could picture her face, eyebrows pinched, mind moving. The thing about Mara is she's not dramatic. She's seen real emergencies. If she gets quiet, it's because she's taking something seriously. "Do you want to talk about it in person?" she asked. "I'm supposed to meet you in like 15 minutes, I said. "I'm in my car." "Okay," she said. "Drive safe. Don't spiral," I laughed, but it came out thin. "Promises." "Caleb," she said, firmer. "Listen to me. Don't message some random person from your car in a Walgreens parking lot. If it's a mistake, you'll freak yourself out. If it's not a mistake, you'll want to think clearly." That landed because it was true. I stared at the message button again. The clean white rectangle that could start a conversation I couldn't put back in a drawer. "I could also call customer support," I said, like offering myself a lifeline. "Yes," she said. Do that." I pictured myself on hold, listening to cheerful music, while a stranger with a headset explained, "Sometimes matches update as more users join." I pictured the helplessness of it. I hated it. Mara continued, "Or you can wait until I'm there and we can look together. Decide what to do. Wait, look together, decide." That sounded like the sensible option. It also sounded like surrendering control, which is exactly what my brain resists when it's scared. I watched a man in a puffy coat cross the street carrying a pizza box. Steam rose when he tilted it. Life continued, stubborn and ordinary. "Okay," I said, and I meant it. "I'll wait." "Good," Mara said, and I heard her exhale. "Meet me at the cafe, the one on Highland." "I'm coming now." "Love you," she said, and then, as if surprised by her own honesty, added quickly, drive. I smiled despite myself. Yeah, drive. We hung up. I put the car in gear and pulled out, tires crunching over grit. The city slid past, brick buildings, bare trees, people hunched against the wind. My phone sat face down in the cup holder like it was a bad influence. At a red light, it buzzed again. Not Mara. Another notification from the DNA app. New information available for your close match. I didn't touch it. I gripped the steering wheel harder and felt my pulse in my fingertips. The light turned green. Cars moved. I moved. At the next light, I had a choice. Clear as the lanes painted on wet asphalt. Keep driving to the cafe. Sit down with Mara. Do this like a person with a spine and a support system. Or pull over, flip my phone back over, and open the new information alone. My hand drifted toward the cup holder before I could stop it. Then I pulled it back, like withdrawing from a hot stove. I drove on, but my eyes kept flicking to the phone, face down, vibrating with whatever it wanted to tell me, whatever tomorrow had already delivered. And I knew, with the same steady certainty I get when I see a network diagram and spot the one point of failure, that we weren't going to be able to ignore this for long. Not after that second notification. Not after a name that matched mine. Not after a birth year that hadn't happened yet. The time I reached the cafe on Highland, the sky had shifted into that late afternoon gray that makes everything look a little flatter than it is. The windows were fogged from the inside, the warm blur of people hunched over laptops and ceramic mugs. I parked badly, too close to the curb, didn't fix it. My phone buzzed again before I even killed the engine. New information available for your close match. Important, please review immediately. That second line hadn't been there before. I stared at it. The word immediately felt deliberate. Corporate urgency. Liability language. I flipped the phone face down again and stepped out into the cold. Inside, the cafe smelled like burnt espresso and cinnamon. A grinder whined somewhere behind the counter. The floor was damp from tracked in slush. I spotted Mara at a small table near the window, coat draped over the back of her chair, dark hair pulled into a low ponytail. She looked up when I walked in and studied my face for half a second too long. You look like you didn't sleep, she said. I slept, I said. I just didn't expect today to be this. She slid a mug toward me. I ordered you something hot. Figured you'd need it. I sat down. My hands were still cold, and the heat from the cup felt too intense at first, like it didn't belong to me. Okay, she said, leaning in slightly. Show me. I unlocked the phone and turned it so she could see. The match tile was still there, pinned and calm and unbothered by my heart rate. Immersive 49.8%, shared DNA estimated relationship. Parent-child year of birth. 2026, Mara exhaled slowly through her nose. That's not subtle. I know. Tap the new information. My thumb hesitated just long enough for her to notice. Caleb, I'm tapping, I said. The screen refreshed. The profile page loaded, and for a split second, nothing looked different. Then a new section appeared under the chromosome chart. Health alerts. Potential direct match notification. What does that mean? Mara asked. I don't know, I said, already scrolling. Below it was a paragraph in tight, neutral font. Based on your genetic profile and that of your close match, our system has flagged a potential hereditary health risk that may require immediate medical consultation. Please confirm your contact details to proceed. There was a button underneath. Confirm identity, To unlock details, the air between us shifted. Not dramatic, just heavier. "This is how they get you to upgrade," I said automatically. "They scare you." "Is it asking for money?" she asked. "No, just identity confirmation." I tapped it. It asked me to re-enter my password, then to verify my date of birth. Then it sent a 2-factor authentication code to my email, the one with the tomorrow timestamp. I felt a flicker of irritation. Of course. What? It's sending the code to the same inbox that glitched earlier. "Check it," she said. I opened Gmail. The code email was there. Normal timestamp. No tomorrow, no weirdness. I entered the code. The screen thought for a moment. A little spinning wheel. Then the page shifted again. A red banner appeared at the top. Action recommended. Possible autosomal dominant mutation identified underneath in smaller text. Your profile indicates a shared variant associated with familial adenomatous polyposis, FAP. This condition significantly increases risk for early onset colorectal cancer. Clinical correlation and genetic counseling strongly advised. For a second, I didn't process the words. They were too technical, too clinical. Then they rearranged themselves into something human. "Cancer," Mara said quietly. I swallowed. "It says possible." She leaned closer, reading. "Autosomal dominant means if one parent has it, there's a 50% chance of passing it on." 50%, I repeated. The same number as the shared DNA. "That doesn't mean you have it," she said quickly. "These reports can flag variants that aren't actually pathogenic. They overcall things." I knew that. I did. I'd read enough disclaimers before spitting into the tube to understand the difference between consumer genetics and medical-grade testing. But the word dominant lodged itself in my chest. "Is this because of the match?" I asked. "It says shared variant," she said. "So it's comparing you and this immerser." "So either I have it," I said slowly, "or they do." "Or neither of you do," she countered. "It's a flag, not a diagnosis." I nodded. I didn't feel nod-worthy. The cafe noise seemed louder now, the hiss of milk steaming, a chair scraping against tile. Somewhere behind us, someone laughed too hard at something small. Mara reached across the table and squeezed my wrist. "Okay. Step 1, breathe." I let air out. In, out. "My mom never had cancer," I said. "Not that you know of," she said gently. "She's 61. That doesn't rule anything out." I stared at the screen again. Under the alert was another option. Schedule a genetic counseling call, next available. Monday 9:30 a.m. Today was Saturday. 2 days, I said. "That's not long," she said. "It is if there's something I'm supposed to be doing immediately." "Like what?" she asked. "I don't know," I snapped, sharper than I meant to. She pulled her hand back slightly, not offended, just recalibrating. "Caleb," she said, spiraling. "Because this is insane," I said, keeping my voice low but tight. "A match to someone who supposedly was born this year, flagged as my child or parent, and now we share a cancer mutation. That's not just a typo. That's what?" she pressed. I didn't have a word. Conspiracy sounded dramatic. Error sounded naive. "It's either a massive data screw-up," I said finally, "or there's someone out there who's half me and carrying something that could kill them before they're 40. The words hung there. Mara's jaw tightened. "Okay, that's the part that's real. If there's a child involved, I don't have a child," I said automatically. She met my eyes. "You're sure?" "Yes." There was a beat too long after that, not accusatory, just heavy. "I've never donated sperm," I said. "Never had a one-night thing that resulted in a mystery baby. I would know." "You would hope," she said softly. I hated that she was being rational. Look, she continued, lowering her voice further. There are documented cases of fertility clinic mix-ups. Wrong samples, wrong donors. It's rare, but it happens. Or adoption records being wrong, or lab contamination. It's more likely something procedural than whatever your brain is inventing. Procedural. A system failure. That, at least, I understood. I scrolled further down the match profile, looking for anything concrete. There was a small icon next to location now. I tapped it. Last active. Today, 1:58 p.m. That was 15 minutes before I'd opened the first email. So they're active, I said. Okay, Mara replied carefully. So it's not a dormant account. And it says Northeast, I said, which we are. That's a big region, she said. But it's not California, I said. Or Germany. I tapped shared matches again. Still empty. How can you have a direct parent-child match and no shared matches? I muttered. 'Cause if it's actually your child, and you don't know your father's side, there might not be anyone else in the database yet, she said. That made too much sense. My phone vibrated again. Not the DNA app this time. A new email from the DNA company. Subject, urgent. Confirm biological relationship inquiry Mara, and I both leaned in. I opened it. Dear Caleb, a user identified as eMercer has initiated a relationship verification request based on your shared DNA profile. To proceed, please confirm whether you acknowledge a potential biological relationship with this individual. Failure to respond within 48 hours may result in restricted access to certain features of your account. Sincerely, support team, she messaged you, Mara said. Or he, I said automatically, then caught myself. He could be anything. Does it show a message? I switched back to the app. There it was. A small speech bubble icon with a red dot. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my ears. I tapped it. The message was short. Hi, I think we need to talk. I was told to contact you if this match appeared. Please don't ignore this. There was no emoji, no extra punctuation, just that. I was told to contact you, Mara repeated under her breath. Told by who? I said. Maybe a parent, she said. Maybe a lawyer. Lawyer, I echoed. If there's a custody thing, or inheritance, or medical, this is not an inheritance situation, I said, sharper than intended. My mom's alive. I'm not saying your mom, she said. I'm saying if this person thinks you're their father. The word landed like a dropped plate. I'm not anyone's father, I said. You don't know that, she replied. We sat there, staring at the message like it might rearrange itself into something less loaded. There was a typing indicator for a second. Then it disappeared. Then appeared again. My throat felt tight. Okay, Mara said quietly. This is the time-sensitive part. 48 hours, I said. No, the health alert. If there's even a small chance this mutation is real, and this person is a newborn or pregnant, or whatever, waiting 2 days could matter. What do you want me to do? I asked. Message back, she said. Ask for context. Ask who told them to contact you. Ask how old they actually are. And if they say they're pregnant, I asked. Mara's eyes flicked to my face. Then we deal with that, she said. I stared at the screen. My flaw, my compulsion to know, was clawing at me. Information is control. Control is safety. If I just ask the right questions, this becomes manageable. But another part of me, the part that hates being blindsided, wanted to throw the phone across the room and pretend none of this was real. Caleb, Mara said, softer now. Whatever this is, it's already in motion. Ignoring it doesn't stop it. I typed before I could overthink it. Hi. I'm confused. Can you explain what you were told and who told you? I hit send. The typing indicator popped up almost immediately. Then the reply came. I'm 19. My mother just gave birth. The hospital flagged a genetic risk and told her to use the database to find close relatives. Your name came up. They think you're the biological father. The cafe noise dropped away in my perception, like someone had turned a dial. 19. Mother just gave birth. Hospital flagged a genetic risk. My brain snagged on one detail and wouldn't let go. 19, I said. Mara leaned closer, reading over my shoulder. She's 19, she said, and she just gave birth, I repeated. And they think you're the father, Mara finished. That's not possible, I said. Caleb, she said carefully. How old were you 19 years ago? I did the math without meaning to. 19 years ago, I was 13. That's not, I started. Caleb, she said again, firmer. The numbers shifted. If she's 19 and her mother just gave birth, she's not saying she's the newborn, Mara said, parsing quickly. She's saying her mother gave birth. To who? I asked. To her sibling, Mara said. We both looked at the health alert again. Autosomal dominant, 50%. She's saying the hospital flagged something in the newborn, Mara said slowly. And they told the family to look for close biological relatives. And my name came up, I said. Which means either I'm the father of the newborn, I said, feeling the words scrape my throat, or the father of the 19-year-old. Mara didn't answer. My phone buzzed again before I could process it. Another message from Mercer. My mom is scared. She said she never told you. She said she didn't know how. She said your name was Caleb. The air in the cafe felt thin. Caleb, Mara said quietly. Did you ever? No, I said, and then stopped. Memory is not as tidy as spreadsheets. There are summers you don't catalog properly. Parties you half forget. Names you lose. I was 13, I said, 19 years ago. Okay, she said, then you're not her father. Unless she's lying about her age, I said automatically. Why would she lie about that? Mara shot back. I didn't have an answer. The phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a message. It was a call. Unknown number. Boston area code. Mara and I stared at it together. It's them, she said. The phone kept vibrating in my hand. I had to decide. Ignore it and buy time, or answer and step directly into whatever this was. I swiped to answer. Hello. There was a pause. I could hear hospital sounds in the background, monitors beeping faintly, the soft echo of a hallway, a cart rolling over tile. A woman's voice came on the line, strained but steady. Is this Caleb Mercer? She asked. Yes. My name is Erin Collins. I'm 38, she said. I'm at Beit Israel Deaconess in Boston. I just had a baby yesterday, and I need to know if you're his father. Mara's hand closed around mine under the table, and for the first time since the Walgreens parking lot, I felt something other than confusion. I felt the ground shift. The cafe noise kept going like nothing had shifted. Milk steaming, grinder whining, someone arguing softly about oat versus whole. On the phone, Erin Collins was breathing like she'd just walked down a hallway too fast. I don't understand, I said, aware of how thin my voice sounded. How would the hospital even get my name? They didn't, she said. My daughter did. Mara's grip on my hand tightened. Your daughter, I repeated. She's 19, Erin said. Evelyn. She took one of those home DNA tests last year for fun. When the pediatric geneticist mentioned a possible inherited mutation this morning, we logged into her account. Your profile was listed as a close family match. Parent or child. My stomach dropped again at the word parent. I was 19 years ago, I said. I can't be your daughter's father. There was a beat of silence. I could hear a monitor alarm chirp twice, then stop. I'm 38, Aaron said slowly. I was 19 when Evelyn was born. Mara's eyes flicked to me. 38 now. 19 when Evelyn was born. That math landed cleanly. But you said you just gave birth, I said. I did, she said. Yesterday to my son, the newborn. And the doctors think your son might have this mutation, Mara asked, leaning closer to the phone. Yes, Aaron said. They found multiple polyps during a routine scan because of a bowel obstruction. He's a day old, and they're already talking about colonoscopies when he's older. They asked about family history. I told them I didn't know the father of my first child's medical background. That's when Evelyn remembered the DNA site. The room felt too small, too warm. Who did you think Evelyn's father was? I asked, because that seemed like the root. Aaron hesitated. A boy I knew when I was 18, Caleb. We only saw each other that summer. My heart thudded once hard. What was his last name? I asked. I don't remember, she said. He was from upstate New York, visiting his grandmother in Maine. We met in Bar Harbor. Mara looked at me. I swallowed. My grandmother lived in Bar Harbor, I said. The espresso machine hissed behind us like a punctuation mark. But I was 13 that summer, I said again, more forcefully. What year? Aaron asked. I did the math quickly. 2007. That's the year, she said. A sound escaped my throat that wasn't quite a laugh. I was a kid, I said. I had braces. I still played video games in my room. I'm not accusing you of anything, Aaron said quickly. I'm trying to solve a medical problem. The geneticist said if the match is real, it would explain the inheritance pattern. Mara squeezed my hand again. Where are you exactly? She asked Aaron. Beit Israel, West Campus, Aaron said. The maternity wing. That was 10 minutes from where we were sitting. The geography of it made everything feel less abstract. Can we see the genetic report? Mara asked. I can send a photo, Aaron said, but they said they need confirmation from you. They need to know if you're willing to come in for a blood test. Today, I said. It's a weekend, she said. The pediatric team wants to move quickly. I closed my eyes for a second. 2 hours ago, I'd been buying cough drops. Now, a hospital in Boston wanted my blood. Send the report, Mara said. We'll look at it. The call ended with a promise to text images. I set the phone down on the cafe table and rubbed my face with both hands. Okay, Mara said. Let's line this up. I don't have a child, I said. I know, she said calmly. But something is connecting you to this family genetically. That doesn't make it true, I said. Agreed, she said. So we verify. My phone buzzed with incoming images. I opened them. Blurry photos of a hospital screen. A genetic test result with highlighted lines. The term APC genes circled in blue pen. Notes in the margin. Possible truncating mutation. Mara leaned in close enough that her shoulder pressed into mine. This is real, she said quietly. This isn't a phishing email. No, I said, it's worse. We left the cafe without finishing our drinks. Outside, the air felt colder than before, like the temperature had dropped while we were inside. We drive there, Mara said. We talk to the genetic counselor. We see what they actually know. And if they think I'm the father, I asked. Then we ask for a paternity test, she said. Not a consumer kit. A clinical one. I nodded. My brain felt like it was operating a half second behind my body. We got into my Subaru. I pulled out onto Highland Avenue. merging into light traffic. The road sloped gently toward Cambridge Street, salt streaking the asphalt white. My phone buzzed again in the cup holder. Another message from Evelyn. Mom is upset. She says you'll deny it. She says you disappeared after that summer. I gripped the steering wheel harder. I didn't disappear, I muttered. What? Mara asked. Nothing. The car in front of me braked suddenly at a yellow light. I reacted a beat too slow. My tires skidded on the wet salt, and I felt the anti-lock brakes kick in, chattering under my foot. We stopped inches from the bumper ahead. Caleb, Mara said sharply. I'm fine, I said, though my pulse was hammering. Pull over for a second, she said. I'm fine, I repeated, but my hands were shaking now, just slightly. We turned onto a side street lined with triple-deckers, and I parked against the curb. I stared at the dashboard. You're not thinking clearly, Mara said gently. This is exactly when mistakes happen. I leaned back in the seat and shut my eyes. I don't remember Bar Harbor like that, I said. I remember skipping rocks, eating lobster rolls. I remember my grandmother's porch light flickering. Memory isn't a recording, she said, especially from when you were 13. I wasn't having sex at 13, I said, almost angrily. I'm not saying you were, she said. Then what are you saying? She hesitated. Is there any chance someone could have used your DNA without you knowing? A hairbrush, a toothbrush, something from that summer. That's not how this works, I said automatically. You need saliva, a controlled sample. Okay, she said. Then we look at procedural failures. I opened the DNA app again. The match was still there. I tapped into the chromosome view and took screenshots. Then I noticed something new. Under the match details, there was a small line I hadn't seen before. Sample collection date, February 3, 2026. That was 3 weeks ago. The same week I mailed mine. That's weird, I said. What? Mara asked. Their sample was collected this month. So, she said. So if Evelyn took a test last year, like she said, why does this say February 3rd? Mara frowned. Maybe she retested. Or someone else did, I said. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Hello, Mr. Mercer, a male voice said, professional, controlled. This is Dr. Patel from Beit Israel's Pediatric Genetics Unit. Ms. Collins provided your number. I glanced at Mara. Yes, I said. I understand this is sudden, he continued. We're dealing with a neonate with a possible APC mutation. Time matters in these cases. I understand, I said. We need to confirm biological relationships to determine inheritance patterns. If you are the biological father, it significantly changes our surveillance protocol. And if I'm not, I asked. Then we expand our search, he said simply. There was no accusation in his tone, just logistics. Can you tell me how you're verifying identity? I asked, slipping into my IT voice. How do you know the match is accurate? We don't, he said. Consumer databases are not diagnostic. That's why we need you here. Blood draw, clinical panel, paternity testing if necessary. I hesitated. Mr. Mercer, he added, voice softening slightly. I have a 1-day-old infant in the NICU. I need clarity, NICU. That word rearranged the stakes. We're on our way, I said. We pulled back into traffic, heading down Cambridge Street toward Longwood Medical Area. The buildings grew taller, more institutional. Ambulances idled near entrances. The sky had dimmed further. Halfway there, my phone vibrated again. A new alert from the DNA app. Count notice. Access restricted pending verification. What now? Mara muttered. I opened it. A red banner covered the top of my profile. Due to reported discrepancies in biological relationship claims, your account has been temporarily restricted. Please contact support within 24 hours to prevent permanent suspension. This is escalating, Mara said. Reported discrepancies, I repeated. So they flagged us. Or Evelyn did, she said. I tapped into the messaging section. Evelyn had sent another message. The hospital says if you don't cooperate, they'll have to report this. They think you're avoiding responsibility. Avoiding responsibility, I said, heat rising in my face. Caleb, Mara said, warning in her tone. I started typing. I am not avoiding anything. I'm driving to the hospital right now. I hit send. The typing indicator didn't come back. Instead, another call came through. This time from my mother. I stared at the screen. Don't ignore that, Mara said. I answered. Hi, Mom. Caleb, she said, breathless. Why did a hospital in Boston call me? My stomach flipped. What? I said. They left a voicemail, she said, asking if I could confirm your date of birth and whether there's a history of colon cancer in the family. Mara's eyes widened. They called you, I said. Yes, she snapped. What is going on? I felt the trap tightening. They shouldn't have your number, I said. It's listed as your emergency contact on that DNA site, she said. I didn't remember entering that. Mom, I said carefully. Do you know anyone named Aaron Collins? Silence. Then, softer, no. Did you ever spend a summer in Maine when I was 13 and meet a 19-year-old named Aaron? I never left you alone with strangers, she said sharply. Where is this coming from? My throat felt tight. I'm on my way to hospital, I said. There's some kind of mix-up. I'll call you later. Caleb, she said, voice suddenly small. You're scaring me. I know, I said. I'm sorry. I hung up before she could ask more. Mara was staring straight ahead now. They contacted your mother, she said quietly. That's not normal, I said. That's a privacy violation. Or they're desperate, she said. We turned onto Brookline Avenue, traffic thick near the hospital cluster. Sirens in the distance. People crossing against the light. This could still be a lab swap, Mara said. Or someone used your name. Why my name? I shot back. Because it's on the match, she said. And if the sample collection date is this month, maybe someone created a new account and entered your information deliberately. The thought hit me hard. Deliberately, I repeated. As if on cue, my phone vibrated again. A new email from the DNA company. Subject, legal notice. Inquiry from healthcare provider. I opened it with numb fingers. We have received a request from a licensed healthcare institution regarding a potential biological relationship involving your account. Under applicable laws, we may be required to share limited identifying information. Applicable laws, I whispered. Mara read over my shoulder. They can't just give out your data, she said. They can if there's a court order, I said. Is there? She asked. I scrolled. There it was, in sterile font. If no response is received within 12 hours, preliminary data may be disclosed under emergency medical provisions. 12 hours, Mara said. That's not 48, I said. No, we were pulling into the hospital garage now. Concrete levels spiraling upward, fluorescent lights flickering slightly. The smell of exhaust and damp cement. I parked too fast, tires squealing slightly against the painted line. We sat there for a second, engine ticking as it cooled. You can still walk away, Mara said softly. Call a lawyer, refuse consent, let them sort it out. And if the baby has something that could have been prevented, I asked. She didn't answer. I opened my door. Cold air rushed in, mixed with the sterile scent that seems to hover around hospital campuses. My phone buzzed one more time before I stepped out. A new message from Evelyn. We're not in the maternity ward anymore. They moved my brother to the NICU. They said it's urgent. I stared at the words. They moved him, I said, to the NICU, Mara confirmed. And they think I'm responsible, I said. Caleb, she said, steady. You're not responsible for a gene you didn't know about. But genes don't care what you know. I stepped out of the car. The garage door closed behind us with a heavy mechanical thud. Point of no return. Because once I walked into that building, gave blood, signed forms, there would be a record, a test, an answer. And whatever that answer was, it would redraw my life. The hospital swallowed us the way big institutions do, without noticing. Beit Israel's lobby was bright enough to make your eyes feel dry. The air had that layered smell of sanitizer, coffee, and something faintly metallic. Shoes squeaked on polished tile. A volunteer in a red vest pointed people toward elevators like a traffic cop who'd done the same dance 1,000 times. Mara walked half a step ahead of me, purposeful, nurse brain online. I followed with my phone in my hand like it was a passport that could also explode. At the security desk, a woman in a Navy uniform asked for our IDs. Her name tag read, Sharon Lively, 52, female. What's the reason for your visit? She asked, voice neutral. Pediatric genetics, Mara said. We have a call in from Dr. Patel. Sharon took my driver's license, glanced at it, then glanced at my face. Mercer. Yes, she didn't smile. She didn't frown. She just nodded like she'd already heard 10 variations of this story today, which made it worse. If this was routine, what did that say about how often people got pulled into hospitals by surprise? Visitor badges, she said, handing us stickers. Where I can see him. We clipped them to our coats and moved toward the elevators. My phone buzzed in my palm. DNA co-support ticket updated. I didn't open it. Not yet. I kept walking. Elevator doors slid shut with a soft. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A man with a rolling suitcase stared at the floor numbers like they were an argument. Mara leaned close. We talked to Dr. Patel first. We keep it simple. We don't confess to anything you didn't do. I didn't do anything, I said. I know, she said. But panic makes people volunteer the wrong details. The elevator opened on the maternity floor. The hallway was quieter, muffled, like the building was trying not to wake anyone. There were pastel signs and hand sanitizer stations every 20 feet. Somewhere behind a door, a baby cried with a thin, persistent sound that made my skin tighten. A young woman in scrubs met us near a nurse's station. Janelle Rourke, 27, female, that was on her badge. Caleb Mercer, she asked. Yes, I'm Janelle. Dr. Patel asked me to bring you to the consult room. Her eyes flicked briefly to Mara's badge, then back. Follow me. We passed postpartum rooms with doors half closed. We passed a family asleep in chairs, heads tipped back, mouths open. The exhaustion here had a shape. Janelle led us into a small room with 2 chairs, a table, and a computer monitor that was turned away like it was shy. Dr. Patel will be in shortly, she said. Do you need water? My mouth was so dry I could feel my tongue sticking to my teeth. Yes. When she left, Mara and I sat side by side, knees almost touching. The quiet felt staged like this was the calm moment before something slammed. I hate this, I said. I know, Mara replied. I feel like I'm about to be accused of a crime I didn't commit. Mara's eyes moved across my face, reading. Then keep your voice steady. Ask questions. Let them talk. The door opened. Dr. Patel stepped in with a folder under his arm and the kind of tired focus that made him look older than he probably was. He had kind eyes that didn't waste time. Dr. Nikhil Patel, 41 male. Mr. Mercer, he said, nodding. MS. Mara Egan, she said. I'm a nurse. I'm here with him. Good, he said simply, as if that solved something. He pulled a chair close and sat. I appreciate you coming in quickly. I appreciate someone telling me what's going on, I said, trying to keep my tone level. He didn't flinch. Fair, I'll be direct. He opened the folder and slid a page toward me. It was printed, official. Not an app screenshot. Our patient is a male neonate born yesterday, he said. He developed signs of intestinal obstruction. Imaging suggested an abnormal pattern, and during evaluation, we saw findings that raised concern for hereditary polyposis syndrome. You mean FAP, I said. Yes, he said. The APC gene is involved. Now, consumer DNA tests are not a clinical tool. I want to be clear. We did not tell anyone to use a commercial matching service. We told Ms. Collins to contact known biological relatives and gather family history. Mara's jaw tightened. So the database, that was their choice. Dr. Patel nodded. Yes, but now that we've been presented with a possible close genetic match, we need to sort signal from noise. I swallowed. They think I'm the father. Dr. Patel looked at me. Really looked. Ms. Collins believes you may have been the biological father of her 19-year-old daughter. That's complicated. But I'm not here to litigate that. I'm here because an infant is sick, and inheritance patterns matter. I was 19 years ago, I said, sharper than I meant to. He raised his hands slightly. I hear you. That fact makes it very unlikely you are the biological father of Miss Collins's daughter, which suggests either the match is misinterpreted, or there's another relationship in play, or the consumer data is wrong. Or someone's lying, I said. Dr. Patel didn't disagree. All possibilities. Mara leaned forward. What do you need from him right now? A blood draw for a clinical APC panel, Dr. Patel said. And if Ms. Collins consents, a rapid paternity exclusion test with a buccal swab from the infant. He paused. It won't be instantaneous, but we can have preliminary answers within hours, not days. Hours. That was a relief and a new kind of terror. And my data, I said, voice tightening again. Your staff called my mother. Dr. Patel blinked once, surprise real. We did not. I have the voicemail, I said. Mara said. The hospital called his mother because she's listed as an emergency contact on the DNA account. Dr. Patel's expression shifted, something in his jaw tightening. We have strict privacy protocols. We do not contact family members without authorization unless there's an immediate safety issue. So who did? I asked. Dr. Patel didn't answer immediately. He glanced toward the computer monitor, then back to us. What's the name of the commercial company? I told him. He wrote it down. Then he said, carefully, Mr. Mercer, has anyone asked you to sign anything yet? I frowned. No. Good, he said. Because there's a procedural trap people fall into when they're frightened. They sign forms without reading. You do not need to acknowledge paternity for us to treat an infant. Treatment consent is the mother's responsibility. Paternity is a separate legal matter. Mara's eyes narrowed slightly. Someone implied to Evelyn that refusing would be reported. Dr. Patel's mouth tightened. There is nothing to report in the way she described it. We document non-cooperation sometimes for care planning, but we don't threaten people into consent. Something cold unspooled under my ribs. So either she misunderstood, Mara said, or someone told her that. Dr. Patel nodded once. Exactly. He stood. I'll have phlebotomy come in. After that, I can bring you to speak with Miss Collins briefly. But I need you calm. I'm calm, I lied. He left the room. For a moment, Mara and I just sat there, listening to the faint hospital sounds through the wall. A distant intercom announcement, a cart rolling, soft footsteps. Then my phone buzzed. I opened the support ticket despite myself. A message from the DNA company. Ticket update. We have detected multiple logins to your account from new devices within the last 2 hours. For your security, access has been restricted. If you believe this activity is unauthorized, please call our security hotline. Multiple logins, I said. Mara leaned in. From where? I scrolled. It listed locations. Rough, vague. Boston, MA, 2 logins, Albany. NY, 1 login. My skin prickled. Albany, I said. Mara's eyes flicked up. Your mom's in upstate New York. She doesn't know how to log into this, I said. Then someone else does, Mara said, voice flat. A knock. A phlebotomist entered with a cart. Luis Herrera, 33, male. Caleb Mercer, he asked. That's me. He wrapped a tourniquet around my arm, swabbed with alcohol. The smell hit sharp and clean. I watched his hands, efficient, practiced. The needle slid in with a pinch that became a dull pressure. Blood filled the tube, dark and unreal. This won't hurt much, he said, like it was a joke and also a prayer. It's not the needle, I muttered. Louis gave a polite half smile without asking questions. He taped gauze over the puncture site, told me to hold pressure, and left. Mara watched me press the cotton to my arm. You're shaking. I'm not, I said, then realized my hand really was trembling. We need to call that security hotline, she said. I can't, I said. We're in a hospital. It'll be an hour on hold. Then we do what you do, she said. We triage, we identify the immediate threat. I stared at the logins again. Boston. That could be Evelyn on her phone. That could be Aaron. That could be anyone on the maternity floor with the password. Albany was the problem. Someone called my mother, I said. Someone logged in from Albany. Someone wants information. Or wants to lock you out, Mara said. The door opened again. Dr. Patel reappeared. Miss Collins is ready to speak, he said. 5 minutes. He led us down the hallway. Past a family clustered around a crib in the corridor. Past a nurse bouncing a swaddled baby, gently like she was trying to soothe herself more than the child. We turned into a small waiting alcove near a set of secure doors. A sign read NICU in quiet letters, as if spelling it softly made it less terrifying. Aaron stood there with a hospital wristband, hair pulled back messily, face pale with exhaustion. Her eyes were red around the edges, not from crying exactly, but from being awake too long in bad air. Evelyn was beside her, tall, thin, a sweatshirt hanging off her frame like she'd lost weight recently or never had it. Her hands were clenched around her phone. Evelyn Collins, 19, female, now in front of me, real and breathing. And Aaron, closer than a voice on a phone. Aaron Collins, 38, female. They both looked at me like I was either a solution or a threat. Caleb, Aaron said. Her voice cracked on my name. I didn't answer right away. I couldn't decide what tone to choose. Evelyn spoke first. You came. Yes, I said. Aaron took a step forward, then stopped. I'm not trying to ruin your life, she said quickly. I'm trying to save my sons. I understand that, Mara said, stepping slightly between us, not aggressive, but protective. We're cooperating. He gave blood. We'll do clinical testing. Evelyn's eyes flicked to Mara. Who are you? Mara said. I'm with him. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Okay, I looked at Aaron. I need to ask you something direct, I said. Did anyone from this hospital tell you to use a consumer DNA database? Aaron blinked. They told me to contact family. And did anyone tell you I'd be reported if I didn't cooperate? I asked. Evelyn flinched. A nurse said, Dr. Patel cut in calmly. No one on my team said that. Aaron looked between us, confused. Evelyn, what did you do? Evelyn's cheeks flushed. I messaged him. I told him it was urgent, because it is. That's not what I'm asking, I said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. Did you give anyone my number? Evelyn hesitated. Aaron turned toward her. Evelyn, I didn't, Evelyn said too fast. Then she swallowed. I posted on a forum. My skin went cold. What forum? I asked. Evelyn's eyes darted away. A genealogy forum. People help you interpret matches. I didn't put his full info. Just the situation. Mara's voice sharpened. Did you include a screenshot? Evelyn's face told the truth before her mouth did. Aaron's mouth fell open. Evelyn, I was scared. Evelyn snapped. The baby was in pain and they were talking about genes, and Mom was freaking out, and I didn't know what to do. Dr. Patel's expression changed annoyance, contained. That is not an appropriate use of patient information. It wasn't patient info, Evelyn shot back. It was my account, which you used to identify a person, Mara said, voice tight. And now his account shows logins from Albany. Someone called his mother. Aaron stared at Evelyn like she didn't recognize her. You posted his name. Evelyn's eyes shimmered. I thought it would help. My heartbeat hammered against my ribs. The trap had a shape now. It wasn't science fiction. It wasn't fate. It was the internet doing what it always does when you feed it something raw. You handed my identity to strangers, I said, and hated how small my voice sounded. Evelyn's mouth opened, but she didn't have anything that could undo it. A man appeared at the edge of the alcove then, walking toward us with purpose. Mid-30s, black jacket, a lanyard around his neck with a badge turned conveniently away. He held a clipboard like it belonged. My eyes caught on the badge first, because that's what my brain does now, look for the point of failure. He stopped in front of me, smiled in a way that didn't reach his eyes. Caleb Mercer, he asked. Yes, I said cautiously. I'm with Patient Services, he said. We just need you to sign an acknowledgement form so we can update the file. Dr. Patel's head snapped up. What? The man didn't look at him. He kept his eyes on me. It's standard. We're just confirming the biological relationship so the care team can proceed. Dr. Patel stepped forward. No, that is not standard. Who are you? The man's smile tightened a fraction. I'm with Patient Services. I run pediatric genetics, Dr. Patel said, voice hard. I don't know you. Show your badge. The man's hand went to the lanyard, but instead of flipping it forward, he shifted his body slightly, blocking the view. The movement was quick, small, practiced. My pulse spiked. Mara leaned closer to me. Don't sign anything, she whispered. The man lowered his voice like we were sharing a secret. Mr. Mercer, we're on a clock. The company won't release details without your acknowledgement. This protects the infant. It's just a formality. He knew about the DNA company. He knew about the clock. Dr. Patel's voice sharpened. Step away from them. The man's eyes flicked to Dr. Patel, irritation flashing through the mask. Doctor, this is administrative. No, Dr. Patel said. It is. Sharon's voice came from behind us. Hey. I turned, and saw Sharon Lively, security, walking toward us with her shoulders squared. "Who's this?" she asked, gaze fixed on the clipboard. The man's posture shifted, just a fraction, like a runner bracing to sprint. "My name is," he began. Sharon held out her hand. "Badge." He took a step back, then another. And then, without warning, he lunged forward, fast hand snapping out toward my phone, which I was still holding in my left hand. Instinct took over. I jerked back. The clipboard slapped against my chest. The corner of it caught my ribs like a blunt elbow. Pain flashed. Mara grabbed my wrist and yanked me away. Sharon moved in, reaching for the man's shoulder. He twisted, slipping past her, and bolted down the hallway. Everything after that came in jagged frames. Sharon shouting, "Stop," Mara yelling my name. Dr. Patel calling for security on his phone. Me stumbling after the man on pure, stupid adrenaline, because my phone, my proof, my only handle on reality, was suddenly a thing worth stealing. We hit the corridor, leading to the elevators. The man shoved through a set of doors and slammed into the stairwell instead, taking it 2 steps at a time. Sharon was right behind him. Mara was behind me. The stairwell smelled like dust and old paint. My foot slipped on the edge of a wet step, someone's slush, and I caught myself on the railing. The jolt sent a hot line of pain through my side where the clipboard had hit. I gasped. "Caleb," Mara barked. "I'm fine," I lied again, breathless. The man glanced back once, eyes wide now, no smile left. He wasn't a staffer. He wasn't calm. He looked like someone who'd expected a quick signature and got a chase instead. He hit the landing and tried the door. Locked. He swore under his breath, real, panicked. Sharon caught up, grabbed his jacket. He jerked away, elbow catching her in the shoulder. She grunted, but didn't let go. She slammed him into the wall with a thud that reverberated through the concrete. "Hands," she snapped. He struggled. Sharon held. Mara was on her phone already, speaking fast, clear. "Security incident, stairwell, maternity floor." My side burned. I leaned against the railing, trying not to puke. The man's jacket twisted, and his lanyard flipped forward. The badge flashed. Not a hospital ID. A cheap plastic rectangle with a logo I didn't recognize, and the words "Patient Advocate" printed in a font that screamed home printer. Sharon yanked him harder. "You're not staff." His breathing was ragged. "I was trying to help," he panted. "Help who?" Sharon demanded. He didn't answer. Dr. Patel appeared at the stairwell door, face tight, and behind him 2 more security officers. One of them grabbed the man's wrists and snapped handcuffs on with quick, efficient movements. Officer Daniel Keene, 29, male. I saw his badge as he moved. The man's eyes flicked to me. Pure hate for a second, like I'd ruined something he thought he deserved. "Who sent you?" Sharon asked. The man shook his head, jaw clenched. Mara stepped close to me, her hand pressing lightly against my ribs. "You're hurt." "It's nothing," I said, but my voice came out strangled. She didn't argue. She just steadied me as the adrenaline drained and left me with pain and shaking legs. Dr. Patel looked at me, then at Sharon. "This is unacceptable." Sharon's mouth was grim. "We'll file it. Police will meet us." My phone buzzed again, like it had been waiting for the quiet moment to hit me. A new message notification from the DNA company. Mara saw my face and said, "Don't. Not now." I opened it anyway. One line, "Security alert. Your account email has been changed." My vision tunneled. "No," I whispered. Mara grabbed the phone, scanned the message, and her face went hard. "They're trying to take it from you." "They already did," I said. The man in cuffs laughed just once, short and ugly, before Officer Keene shoved him forward. Sharon looked back. What did he just say? He didn't, I said, because my brain was too busy calculating loss. Someone changed my account email. Dr. Patel's eyes narrowed. Can you still access anything? I tried to log in. Locked, password wrong. Recovery email, not mine anymore. Mara swore under her breath, rare for her. This is why he wanted your signature, she said. He needed you distracted, or needed a photo of something, or needed to buy time. Evelyn's forum post. Albany login, my mother's voicemail. The trap wasn't closing now. It had already closed, and we were realizing the door had latched behind us. Sharon said, we can get hospital IT involved. I am hospital IT, I said automatically, then corrected myself through clenched teeth. University IT. But yes, we need someone now. Dr. Patel's phone rang. He answered, listened, then his expression tightened further. The infant's condition is worsening. We need to move. He looked at me, and for the first time his voice softened. Mr. Mercer, I'm sorry about your account, truly. But right now I need you to decide. Will you consent to a clinical test? It's the only way we cut through this mess. My ribs pulsed with pain. My throat felt raw. Mara's hand squeezed my shoulder. Caleb, she said quietly, this is the cleanest line through. I stared at Dr. Patel. Consent meant a record, a paper trail, an entry into a system I hadn't chosen. It also meant the baby might get answers faster, even if the consumer database had been weaponized. I consent, I said. The words tasted like metal. Dr. Patel nodded once. Thank you. He turned to the security officers. Please escort Ms. Collins and her daughter away from this area and keep them safe. Erin's face was crumpled, stunned. Evelyn looked like she might throw up. None of that mattered in the tight, clipped urgency of the moment. A nurse appeared with a consent form. I signed with my good hand, the pen scratching paper like a tiny saw. Cost paid, door opened. We were marched not gently, but efficiently into the next phase. And somewhere out there in Albany or Boston, or a forum thread I couldn't see, someone now had the keys to my DNA account and was turning them, slow and deliberate, to see what doors they could open next. The blood test took 12 minutes. The waiting took 6 hours. They moved us back into the consult room after I signed the consent. The paper felt heavier than it should have, like the ink had weight. Mara sat close enough that our knees touched, her hand resting lightly on my thigh, not dramatic, just grounding. My ribs throbbed in a steady, annoying rhythm. Nothing broken, probably, just bruised from the clipboard and the stairwell railing. It hurt when I breathed too deeply. It hurt when I laughed, which I didn't. Outside the small window, the sky darkened from gray to ink. The hospital lights glowed harder. Footsteps passed in the hall, the occasional cry from somewhere distant. The world kept functioning. Dr. Patel came in twice with updates that weren't updates. The lab is running the panel. The NICU team is stabilizing him. His tone never shifted into panic, but his jaw stayed tight. Around 9, a hospital IT staffer came to speak with me about the account breach. Hannah DeWitt, 30, female, thin glasses, precise voice. We can't access your consumer account, she said. That's outside our system. But the man detained downstairs had a prepaid phone and a list of usernames written down. Your name was among them. A list, I repeated. Yes, she said. Looks like scraped data from a genealogy forum. I closed my eyes briefly. Evelyn. I didn't mean she'd started earlier. I know, ID said. and I had meant it. Panic makes people do loud things. Hannah continued, if your email was changed, you'll need to go through the company's identity recovery. They'll likely require ID verification and possibly a notarized statement. So someone now has access to my genetic profile, I said. Potentially, she replied. She didn't sugarcoat it. Can they alter results? Mara asked. Unlikely without leaving logs, Hannah said. But they can view matches, download raw data if permissions weren't restricted. Raw data. The phrase felt obscene. Round 10:30, Dr. Patel returned with a stack of papers, and the kind of calm that meant something had resolved. Preliminary results, he said, sitting down across from us. My hands went cold. Your APC panel, he said, looking at me, is negative for the truncating mutation identified in the infant. I blinked. It took a second to rearrange that into English. I don't have it, I said. Not the pathogenic variant we found in him, Dr. Patel confirmed, which strongly suggests you are not the biological father. The air left my lungs in a long, shaky exhale. Beside me, Mara made a sound, half relief, half something else. And the paternity test, she asked. Preliminary exclusion, Dr. Patel said. You are not the father of the newborn. The words landed with a dull thud. Not the father, not the father. A weight lifted and something strange replaced it. Not joy, not even relief exactly. Just a hollow where the question had been. What about Evelyn? I asked quietly. Dr. Patel paused. We requested a comparison between your sample and hers as well. Rapid analysis suggests you are not her biological father either. So the consumer match is wrong, Mara said. Or manipulated, Dr. Patel said carefully. We can't rule that out. But clinically, there is no parent-child relationship between you and Ms. Collins or her infant. The room felt suddenly too small for the amount of oxygen I needed. So what happens now? I asked. Dr. Patel's gaze shifted slightly, softening. Now we focus on finding the actual carrier. We expand testing to Ms. Collins's extended family. We do our jobs. And the account breach, Mara pressed. Dr. Patel nodded once. Security has contacted Boston PD. The individual detained claims he's part of a data recovery service. It appears he monitors public genealogy forums for vulnerable users, and then attempts to intervene under false pretenses, sometimes to obtain signed acknowledgments that can be used to pressure settlements. Settlements, I repeated. In cases of alleged paternity or inheritance disputes, Dr. Patel said, it's not uncommon, common. The word chilled me more than anything else. Aaron and Evelyn were brought into the consult room next. Aaron looked smaller somehow. The adrenaline had burned off, leaving only exhaustion. Evelyn's eyes were red. I'm sorry, Evelyn said immediately, before anyone else could speak. I shouldn't have posted. No, I said, and my voice came out steadier than I felt. You shouldn't have, she flinched, but I didn't soften it. It wasn't cruelty, it was fact. Aaron stepped forward. Dr. Patel told us, she said. You're not, I'm not, I said. Her shoulders sagged. Relief and embarrassment mixed in her expression. I thought I remembered you, she said quietly. From that summer. But memory plays tricks. I was 13, I said. I know that now, she said, eyes shining. I did the math wrong. I was so focused on Evelyn's age that I forgot the years. It wasn't malicious. It was panic. And the birth year on the profile, Mara asked. Evelyn swallowed. When I retook the test last month, I made a new account because I couldn't remember my old password. 2026 by accident. It auto-filled the current year, and I didn't notice. The simplest explanation, of course. And the February 3rd collection date, I asked. That was the new kit, she said. I thought maybe if I retested, it would clarify the match. Instead, it amplified it. And the hospital calling my mother, I asked. Erin shook her head. We didn't give them her number. Dr. Patel interjected. We did not contact her. That may have been related to the data breach. Hannah's words echoed in my head. Scraped data. Someone had taken the screenshot from the forum, matched my name to other databases, found a number, and made a call. A small, efficient human horror. I'm sorry, Erin said again. I nodded once. It didn't erase anything, but it acknowledged the wreckage. Around midnight, Mara and I walked back through the hospital lobby. It was quieter now. The volunteer desk was empty. A janitor pushed a mop slowly across the floor, headphones in. Outside, the air was sharp and clean. The city had settled into that late-night hush where even traffic sounds distant. We didn't speak until we were in the car. You okay? Mara asked softly. I stared straight ahead. I'm not someone's father, I said. No, she said. I'm not carrying that mutation. No, my DNA account is compromised. Yes, she said. I nodded slowly. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it felt like surviving something you didn't know you'd been inside. We drove home in near silence. My side ached every time I shifted gears. By the time we reached Somerville, I was exhausted in a way that felt cellular. In the apartment, the familiar smell of laundry detergent and old wood hit me like proof that reality still existed. Mara kicked off her shoes and turned to face me. I'm staying tonight, she said. It wasn't a question. Okay, I said. She stepped closer and touched my ribs gently. I winced. Bruised, she murmured. You're going to feel that tomorrow. I feel it now, I said. She looked up at me, eyes softer than they'd been all day. You did the right thing. I signed my DNA over to a hospital and got chased in a stairwell, I said. You showed up, she corrected. That matters. I didn't argue. Around 2 a.m, when she was asleep beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark. The DNA company had sent another email while we were driving home. Identity recovery initiated. They'd locked the account fully pending notarized documentation and multi-factor reset. It would take days. I opened the email and scrolled down to the bottom. There was a line I hadn't noticed before. In rare cases, incorrect close family matches may result from user error, laboratory sample mix-up, or intentional falsification. Intentional falsification. The phrase lingered. I thought about the man in the stairwell, about the list of usernames, about how quickly he'd known the words clock and acknowledgement. He hadn't looked surprised when Dr. Patel mentioned emergency data release. He looked irritated, like we'd ruined a plan. The next morning, my mother called again. Her voice was calmer, but tight. Are you okay? She asked. I'm okay, I said. Was it real? She asked. No, I said. It was complicated, but I'm not anyone's father. There was a pause. And the cancer? She asked. I don't have it, I said. She exhaled audibly. I don't like that someone called me, she said. I don't either, I replied. Your father, she began, then stopped. I waited. Your father didn't use the internet, she finished instead. It wasn't what I'd expected her to say. Okay, I said. I'm glad you're okay, she added, and hung up before the drawer opened any further. By Monday afternoon, the police had called to take a formal statement. The man in the stairwell had prior arrests for fraud. He'd targeted genealogy forums before, inserting himself into paternity disputes and offering mediation services that involved signatures and payment. No larger conspiracy, no elaborate genetic sabotage, just a man who'd figured out that fear and family make people sloppy. The clinical results were finalized by Tuesday. I received a secure portal link from Dr. Patel's office confirming again: no APC mutation, no biological relationship to Erin or her children. Erin sent one last message through the hospital system: "We found the mutation on my side. My uncle. Thank you for coming anyway." I stared at that message for a long time. Thank you for coming anyway. It felt both deserved and undeserved. Life slid back into shape in the following days. I went to work. I reset passwords. I called the DNA company and sat on hold for an hour while a polite man with a scripted voice walked me through identity verification. I sent a notarized affidavit swearing I was myself. Mara made soup and insisted I rest my ribs. The ordinary routines reassembled themselves around us. But there was a crack. Every time my phone buzzed unexpectedly, my heart jumped. Every time I logged into anything, I checked the login history twice. And once, 3 nights later, I opened the DNA app after my account was restored. The close family match was gone. No immerser. No 49.8%. Just distant cousins and blank silhouettes. I stared at the empty space where it had been. At the bottom of the match list, a small line of text read: "Recently removed matches may indicate updated relationship estimates." Recently removed. I closed the app. As I set the phone down, a final notification slid across the top of the screen, so brief I almost missed it. New match available, close family. It disappeared before I could tap it. When I reopened the app, there was nothing new. No banner. No alert. Just the quiet, curated list of strangers with shared DNA percentages that meant nothing and everything. I told myself it was a refresh glitch, a delayed notification, a system lag, and maybe it was. But that night, lying in the dark beside Mara, listening to her steady breathing, I couldn't shake the feeling that some part of my genetic life was still out there, searchable, copyable, misinterpretable. That even if I wasn't someone's father, my code had been out in the open long enough for someone to try to claim me. And that was harder to close than any drawer. That's it for this nightmare. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and turn on notifications. It really helps keep the stories alive. And don't stop here. Dive into another one of our videos and keep the fear going. Hey friends, it's your girl Mia. This is Mia Horror Stories. And tonight's story: my house reset itself while I was at work is told in darkness. The screen will stay black, so you can simply listen, imagine, and feel every moment without distraction. Trust me, the build-up matters, and the ending is where the real chill hides. So don't look away and don't leave early. The first thing that didn't make sense was the smell. Not smoke, not gas. Something smaller and meaner than either. Like when you open a brand new plastic shower curtain and it hits the back of your throat. A manufactured smell, clean in the wrong way. I stood on my own porch with my work bag cutting into my shoulder, keys out, thumb hovering over the little home icon on my phone like that would explain it. The late afternoon sun made the street look soft and ordinary. Kids on scooters, a lawn sprinkler ticking, somebody's dog barking at nothing in particular. My front windows were dark. That part was explainable. Cloud cover. Curtains pulled. Maybe I forgot to turn on a lamp, but I hadn't pulled the curtains. I never did. I hated the way it made the house feel closed in. I tried the key. It slid in smooth, turned. The deadbolt clicked back with the normal metallic certainty it always had. And then the door opened a few inches and stopped, like it was pressing against something soft. Not a chair, not a shoe. Soft, springy. My pulse didn't spike, it just retimed itself, like it was waiting to be told what the situation was. "Hello," I called, because that's what you do when you're trying to keep your own voice from sounding like fear. The smell came out through the crack. Fresh paint, almost. Fresh vinyl. Fresh something. I put my shoulder lightly into the door. It gave another inch, then another, and the edge of it rubbed along something that whispered against the wood. A dragging sound, like paper, but thicker. A moving box. That's what my brain offered up. A package slid behind the door, except I hadn't ordered anything big. And when the door finally swung open enough for me to step inside, what I saw wasn't a box at all. It was a sheet of clear protective plastic, the kind contractors tape over floors when they're sanding drywall. It was stretched across my entryway and taped down with blue painter's tape. Some of it was folded and wrinkled where the door had pushed it. It made a soft crackle when it moved. I stood there with one foot still outside, like I could undo everything by not crossing the threshold. The inside of my house looked empty. Not totally empty. My coat rack was still there, screwed into the wall like always, but the hooks were bare. No scarf, no old hoodie, no dog leash, because I didn't have a dog. But I kept the leash anyway from my last relationship like a stupid talisman I couldn't admit was stupid. The narrow table where I normally dumped my keys was gone. So was the bowl I used to catch loose change. The framed photo of me and my sister at Lake Michigan gone. The plant that always looked half dead no matter what I did gone. The walls were a different shade of white. Not wildly different, just newer, cleaner. Like the difference between a shirt you've owned for years and the same shirt on a store shelf. My mouth went dry. I stepped over the plastic. It made a little popping sound under my shoe, tiny, trapped air bubbles giving up. The house smelled like a renovation. I lived alone. I had been at work all day, 10 hours of spreadsheets, and a fluorescent lit conference room, and too much coffee. My job was in downtown Chicago. I had left at 7:15 this morning. I could tell you because I had checked the time twice, the way I always did when I left, because I carried this private fear that I'd forget something obvious, something humiliating, my laptop, my fly down, my stove on, and someone would notice and quietly decide I wasn't competent. It was a ridiculous fear for a 31-year-old woman who had never actually done any of those things. But that wasn't how fear worked. My name is Emily Klein, 31, female, and standing in the entryway of what looked like my house wearing my shoes and my work blazer, I could feel that fear trying to attach itself to the situation like Velcro. This is my fault. I messed up. I forgot something. I signed something. I clicked something. No, that was my brain trying to keep the universe orderly. If it was my fault, it was explainable. My phone buzzed in my hand, impatient. I hadn't even realized I'd opened it again. 2 missed calls. 1 voicemail from Maya. My sister, Maya Klein, 29, female, could call at exactly the wrong moment without even trying. I stared at her name until the screen dimmed and brightened again. I didn't listen to the voicemail. I walked deeper into the house instead, as if moving would make it less unreal. The hallway that led to the kitchen was clear. The runner rug I always tripped on was gone. The floorboards were visible, scuffed in a way that looked consistent, like they'd always been bare. The air felt different too. Less dusty, cooler. There was a faint hum, and after a second I realized it was the thermostat fan running. Weird. My HVAC never ran that quietly. I turned left into the living room and had to stop because my body did an old muscle memory move that didn't match the room anymore. I reached to set my keys on a side table that wasn't there. My couch was gone. Not moved. Gone. In its place, nothing. Just empty hardwood, taped seams of plastic sheeting at the edges like someone had planned to keep it pristine. The TV stand was gone. The bookshelves. My throw blanket with a little cigarette burn I'd been angry about for a week before deciding it made it lived in. The lamp I hated, but never replaced because the light was good for reading, gone. The only thing still in the living room was a single folding chair, metal legs, gray plastic seat. Someone had set it facing the wall, not the space where the TV used to be. Facing the wall like it was waiting. My first thought was burglary, because it's the closest word we have for my home has been violated. But burglary didn't look like this. Burglary looked like drawers pulled out, things tossed, broken glass. This looked organized, reset. I walked to the kitchen. I expected the clatter of something falling, my own footsteps echoing, a neighbor's music through the walls. The neighborhood outside was normal loud. Inside, the house had that staged, muffled quiet of an empty rental. In the kitchen, the cabinets were closed, all of them. The counter was clear except for one object, a laminated sheet of paper, carefully placed near the center like a restaurant menu. I stopped 3 feet away from it. There were no magnets on the fridge. My grocery list and the postcard from Lisbon gone. The fridge itself looked newer too. Not the stainless steel one I'd bought used, but a white one with a small dent in the corner like it had been moved in a hurry. My stomach did a slow, deliberate drop. I could already hear my own voice calling 911 and trying to sound rational, and the dispatcher asking me if someone was in the house, and me saying I didn't know, and them telling me to leave immediately. And I could also hear the other version, me staying, trying to figure it out, because leaving felt like admitting it was real. The laminated sheet fluttered slightly when the HVAC kicked on. It wasn't moving from wind. It was moving from the house breathing. I backed away a step, eyes flicking to the hallway again, because the other fear, older, quieter, finally showed itself. That there was somebody here still. That I was late. My phone buzzed again. Maya calling back. This time I answered before I could talk myself out of it. Maya said immediately, breathless, like she'd been holding it. Okay, you're home, right? You're home. I looked around the kitchen that was technically mine but didn't recognize me. I just got here. I tried calling you, she said. I tried calling you twice and you didn't pick up, and I was about to drive over and Maya, I said, sharper than I meant. Then softer. What's going on? There was a pause. A swallow. Maya did that thing where she pretended she was fine until the last possible second. Like it was a performance she could keep up if she didn't blink. I got something weird in the mail, she said. I stared at the laminated sheet on my counter. Okay, it's not dangerous weird, she said quickly, like she could preempt the idea. It's addressed to you. But it came to my apartment. To you, my throat tightened. Why would it come to you? I don't know, she said. That's why I called. It's one of those big manila envelopes. No return address. Just your name, your full name, and my address underneath. I didn't move, but I felt the room tilt slightly, like my body was trying to find a stable angle to stand in. What does it say? I asked, though I hated myself for asking. I could have told her to throw it away, to bring it unopened to the police, to not touch it at all. Those would have been smart. Instead, I asked what it said. I haven't opened it, she said, almost defensive. Didn't want to open it, I thought. I don't know what I thought. I thought maybe you'd know. Maya, I said, and my voice wavered on her name. I cleared my throat. My house looks wrong. Silence on the line, but not the cliché kind. The real kind, Maya's breathing going shallow, her brain doing quick math. Wrong how, she said carefully. Like I searched for a sentence my mind would accept. Like someone renovated it. Like it got reset. A tiny noise from Maya, half laugh, half disbelief. What? I'm not kidding, I said. My furniture is gone. There's plastic on the floor. The walls look repainted. There's a laminated paper on my counter like instructions. Emily, she said, voice suddenly sharp in the way only my sister could be. Are you in the house right now? I hesitated. It felt ridiculous that that question mattered, that my position in my own home was a choice. Yes, I admitted. Get out, she said. No softness. No debate. Get out and call the cops. I haven't seen. I don't care, she cut in. You're telling me your house is empty and taped up like a crime scene, and you're standing in it like it's fine. Get out. My face went hot. Okay. I backed toward the hall, phone pressed to my ear, eyes sweeping corners, and doorways the way I'd seen people do in movies, and always thought looked melodramatic. But it wasn't melodrama when the air smelled like fresh paint, and your stuff was missing. A floorboard creaked somewhere above me. I froze, listening. Another sound followed, softer. Not footsteps, more like a shift, a weight adjustment. Maya must have heard my breath catch. What? She whispered. I think someone's upstairs, I said. Emily, get out now, she said, voice trembling with anger and fear at once. Leave. My feet moved before my brain could argue. I walked fast down the hall, not running, because running felt like panic, and I didn't want to give panic control. I stepped over the plastic again, the tape pulling slightly under my shoe, and grabbed the door handle. That's when I noticed the second strip of tape. Someone had taped the latch. Not to keep the door closed, tape wouldn't do that, but to show if it had been opened, like a seal, like someone had wanted to know if I came home. My hand shook as I pulled the door open. The tape tore with a quiet, guilty sound. Outside, the street was still normal. The sun was still doing its easy fall light thing. A neighbor's garage door was open across the way. A man in a Cubs cap was spraying something with a hose like his biggest problem today was pollen. I stepped onto my porch and pulled the door shut behind me. The lock clicked automatically. For one dizzy second, I stared at my own door like it was a stranger's. Maya was still talking. Do you see anyone? Are you safe? Where are you? I'm outside, I said. I'm on the porch. Okay, she said, voice tight. Okay. Call 911. Leaving right now. Don't, I said instinctively, because my private flaw, my need to handle things myself before asking for help, reared up. Wait, just wait. Emily, I'm calling, I said, and looked down at my phone, thumb hovering over the emergency call slider. But Maya, what if it's nothing? What if it's some stupid mistake? There was a long beat. Then Maya said, quieter, "Nothing doesn't smell like fresh paint." I swallowed. My eyes flicked to my car. It was parked where I left it, untouched. The windows were intact. That small normalcy was almost worse, like a joke with a clean punchline. Across the street, the man in the Cubs cap looked over, just briefly, as if my posture had pinged his radar, and then looked away again. He didn't come over. No one did. People didn't intrude unless you gave them a reason. A gust of wind pushed dry leaves along the curb. The house behind me stayed closed, sealed, holding its new clean breath. My thumb hovered between actions. Call the police and make this official, messy, real. Or do the thing I always did when something felt off. Try to solve it quietly first. Find the explanation that let me keep control. Maya said my name, softer now. "M, you don't have to do it alone." I stared at the screen, at the options my phone offered like they were simple. Inside, something thumped subtle, like a cabinet door settling, or a footstep placed carefully to avoid creaking. I didn't know if I imagined it. I didn't know if I wanted it to be real, because if it was real, it meant I wasn't crazy. I had to choose, and whichever choice I made, I could already feel it tightening the world around me. I didn't call 911. That's the part I keep replaying. Instead, I stood on my porch with my thumb hovering over the screen and let the air decide for me. It smelled like cut grass and gasoline from someone's mower down the block. Normal, real. The house behind me didn't look dangerous from the outside. It looked like it had always looked. Beige siding, 2 narrow windows, a hairline crack in the concrete step I'd meant to patch. "I'm coming over," Maya said into my ear. I could hear her grabbing her keys, the metallic jangle, the echo of her apartment stairwell in Wicker Park. "Maya, I'm already in the car," she said. "If someone's in there, I don't want you alone." My instinct was to argue, to tell her she was overreacting, to downplay it, because that's what I did, shrink things until they fit into a box I could handle. But the house had already shrunk itself into something I didn't recognize. "Okay," I said finally. "Just drive safe." "You too," she said automatically. And then, after a beat, "Don't go back in." We hung up. I turned slowly and looked at my front door again. The tape I'd torn dangled from the latch in a crooked blue strip. The small tear I'd made was visible. If someone had set that seal, they'd know it was broken, which meant if someone was inside, they knew I was here. The thought crawled up my spine, slow and deliberate. Across the street, the man in the Cubs cap had finished hosing down whatever he was hosing. He was watching me now, not openly, but with that peripheral attention neighbors use when they sense something off but don't want to be rude. I walked down my porch steps and across my small front lawn, more to put space between me and the door than anything else. My car sat at the curb, dark blue Honda Civic, 2016, nothing fancy. I unlocked it and got inside. The interior smelled like old coffee and fabric seats that had absorbed too many winters. Familiar, my safe box. I locked the doors. For a second, I just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, watching my own house through the windshield. If there was someone upstairs, they weren't making any obvious moves. No silhouette at the window. No curtain twitch. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I stared at it. Let it ring twice. 3 times, then I answered. Hello. Silence at first. Not the hollow click of a robocall. The faintest sound of breathing, close to the mic, slow. Who is this? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. A man spoke, low and measured. American accent. Maybe late 30s or 40s. You weren't supposed to be home yet. My chest tightened, but my voice came out flat. Who is this? A pause. Then, almost conversationally, you should have stayed at work. The call ended. I stared at the phone screen until it dimmed. My reflection stared back at me, slightly warped by the glass. My house was directly behind that reflection. He hadn't shouted. He hadn't threatened. He destated a scheduling error. My brain latched onto the timeline immediately. If he expected me later, that meant something was still in progress. Something time-sensitive. The laminated paper on my counter, the folding chair, the plastic sheeting. I dialed 911 before I could overthink it. The dispatcher was calm in a way that made everything sound manageable. I gave her my address, told her I'd come home to find my house altered, told her about the taped latch, about the call. Is anyone inside the residence right now? She asked. I don't know, I said. I heard something upstairs. Are you in a safe location? I'm in my car, doors locked. Okay, officers are on the way. Stay in your vehicle if you can. Do not re-enter the house. The line clicked off. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. 5 minutes passed, then 7. Every car that turned onto the block made my heart jerk. Every pedestrian looked suspicious. The Cubs cap neighbor disappeared into his garage. Then my phone buzzed again. Maya, where are you? She demanded. In my car, I said. I called the police. Good. I also got a call. There was a sharp inhale on the other end. What? A man, I said. He said I wasn't supposed to be home yet. A silence that felt heavier than the earlier ones. Maya said slowly. This isn't random. No, I said. It's not. Did he threaten you? Not directly. That's worse. I watched as a squad car finally turned onto the street. Blue and red lights flickered, but no siren. The car rolled to a stop in front of my house. Relief hit me so hard it almost made me laugh. 2 officers got out. The first was Officer Daniel Ruiz, 38, male, average build, close cropped dark hair, expression that hovered between professional and tired. The second was Officer Jenna Clark, 27, female, blonde ponytail tucked under her cap, alert eyes scanning windows and door frames. I got out of my car and met them halfway up the lawn. You the homeowner? Ruiz asked. Yes, Emily Klein. He nodded. Walk us through what you found. I told them. The plastic, the missing furniture, the taped latch, the call. Clark scribbled notes in a small pad. Ruiz looked at the front door, then at the torn tape. You've got security cameras, Clark asked. Doorbell cam, I said, and one in the living room. Accessible from your phone? Yes. Pull it up. My fingers felt clumsy as I opened the app. The live feed showed the front door from the outside. Static image of the officers' backs. Scroll back to today, Ruiz said. I did. At 8:14 a.m., I saw myself locking the door and walking to my car. At 9:03 a.m., a white van pulled up. No logo. 2 men got out. Both wearing generic contractor hoodies, baseball caps pulled low. They approached the door. One of them produced a key. My stomach flipped. The footage showed the door opening smoothly. No forced entry. They went inside. They did not come back out. I scrubbed forward. 10:37 a.m. The van's still there. 11:52 a.m. Still there. 1:16 p.m. still there. At 2:03 p.m. the van drove away. No footage of them exiting. Could be they left out the back, Ruiz said calmly. There is no back gate, I said. The yard is fenced. Clark glanced at Ruiz. "Let's take a look inside," Ruiz said. Maya's voice was still faintly audible from my phone speaker, where I'd forgotten to hang up. "Don't go in with them," she hissed. "I'll be right here," Ruiz assured me, misunderstanding. They approached the door cautiously, hands near their belts but not drawn. Ruiz knocked first. "Chicago PD," he called. "If anyone's inside, come out now." Nothing. He tried the knob. It opened. They stepped inside. Clark's voice echoed faintly from within. "Plastic sheeting in the entry, Ruiz. Living rooms cleared." They moved methodically. I stood on the lawn, heart thudding in a steady, painful rhythm, listening to the muffled commentary through the open doorway. Kitchen clear. Upstairs. A pause, floorboards creaking under their weight. Bedroom clear. Second bedroom clear. Bathroom clear. They came back down after what felt like an hour, but was probably 3 minutes. "No one inside," Ruiz said. "But the van," I started. "We'll check the back," Clark said. They did. No one. No sign of forced entry anywhere. Ruiz said carefully. "The footage shows them entering with a key." "Do you have contractors scheduled?" "Landlord." "I own the house," I said. "No contractors." "Anyone else have a key?" "My sister," I said automatically. "And my ex." The word felt heavier than it should have. "Name?" Clark asked. "Mark Dalton, 34, male." "And when did you two break up?" 8 months ago." "Still in contact?" "Not really." Ruiz exchanged a look with Clark. "We'll need his information," he said. I gave it to them. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "Here's the thing," Ruiz said. "Without forced entry, and with video showing what appears to be authorized access, this may be a civil matter. We'll file a report. But unless we can establish a crime." "They took my furniture," I said. "They repainted my walls." He nodded. "That's property damage, possibly theft. But we need proof of ownership, inventory, receipts." "A procedural maze." "Of course." "And the call?" I pressed. "Unknown number," Clark said. "Could be spoofed. We'll log it." Maya pulled up then, her car screeching a little too sharply to the curb. She got out before the engine was fully off and marched toward me. Maya Klein, 29, female, dark hair in a messy bun, oversized sweater, eyes already flashing. "What the hell is going on?" she demanded, not caring that the officers were there. I filled her in quickly. She looked at the house like it had insulted her personally. "Can we go inside?" she asked Ruiz. "You can," he said. "We've cleared it." The word cleared felt meaningless. We stepped back into my house together. Maya stopped in the living room, staring at the empty floor. "Oh my God, I know." Her eyes moved to the folding chair facing the wall. "What is that?" "I don't know." She walked toward the kitchen and spotted the laminated sheet. "You didn't look at this?" "No." "Why not?" I swallowed. "I was waiting." "For what?" I didn't have an answer. She picked it up. "Wait," I said sharply. "Maybe don't." She flipped it over. It wasn't instructions. It was a checklist. At the top, in bold black print, "Reset, Phase 1 complete." Below it, bullet points. Living area cleared, personal items removed, surfaces sanitized, walls restored, appliances replaced, entry monitored. At the bottom, a line left blank. Phase 2, 6:00 p.m. It was 5:18. Maya looked at me slowly. "Emily," she said, very quietly, "what happens at 6?" I didn't know, but I knew something did. Outside, Ruiz's radio crackled faintly. Clark was speaking to someone on it. The light in the kitchen flickered once, then steadied. I glanced at the thermostat. The display glowed a soft blue, set to 60 degrees. I never set it below 68. The air was getting colder. Maya grabbed my arm. "We need to leave." "Or," I said, the old stubbornness rising up like it always did when I felt cornered. We need to figure out what phase 2 is. Are you insane? She snapped. If they're coming back at 6, then we don't want to be here when they do. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked at the screen, her face drained of color. What? I asked. She turned the phone toward me. A photo. My living room empty, taken from inside the house. Timestamped. 5:21 p.m. sent from an unknown number. Below it, a single line of text. You broke the seal. We were standing in that room, which meant whoever took that photo was either still here or had access to the cameras I thought were mine. Maya's grip on my arm tightened painfully. Emily, she whispered, we are not alone in this. And somewhere in the house, something clicked like a relay switching on. The click came from the hallway ceiling. Not loud, not dramatic, just a clean mechanical snap like a thermostat relay or an old breaker switching over. Maya and I both looked up at the same time. Did you hear that? She whispered. Yes. The air felt colder already. Not just from the thermostat, from the awareness that something in this house was still actively doing things. Outside, I could hear Officer Ruiz talking to someone on his radio near the curb. Clark's boots crunched on the gravel path along the side of the house. They hadn't left yet, which meant whoever sent that photo either wasn't physically inside anymore or had access to something else. Cameras, I said out loud. Maya's eyes snapped to me. What? If they took that photo from inside, maybe they're not inside. Maybe they're in my camera system. I moved toward the small hallway closet where my router and camera hub sat mounted on a plywood board. The plastic sheeting extended halfway down the hall, taped carefully along the baseboards. The tape lines were straight, measured, intentional. The closet door was slightly ajar. I never left it open. I pulled it wider. The router was there. The camera hub too, both powered on. But the Ethernet cables had been rerouted neatly, tied with white zip ties I didn't recognize. A small black box, about the size of a deck of cards, was velcroed to the wall beside the hub. That wasn't there, I said. Maya leaned in. What is that? I crouched down, heart thudding. The box had no brand name, just a tiny green LED blinking steadily. A micro SD slot on the side. A thin antenna. It's not mine, I said. Unplug it, she said immediately. I hesitated. The checklist in the kitchen flashed through my mind. Entry monitored. If it's recording, I started. Good, Maya snapped. Let it record us unplugging it. I reached in and pulled the small black box free. The Velcro ripped with a tearing sound that seemed too loud for the hallway. The green light blinked faster for a second, then went dark. We both exhaled at the same time. Outside, Ruiz's voice carried faintly through the open front door. You've got unauthorized device here, he called. I held up the box as he stepped inside. This was connected to my system. He took it carefully. Clark, he called over his shoulder. We've got a piggyback. Clark came in, eyes narrowing at the device. That's a wireless bridge, she said, or something like it. You recognize it, I asked. Could be a cheap off-the-shelf transmitter. Could be custom. We'll have tech take a look. Ruiz turned to me. Anyone in your life know how to do this? The answer came too quickly. Mark, Maya said. I shot her a look. What? She said. He works in it. Network security, I corrected automatically. Ruiz raised an eyebrow. He designs systems, I said, corporate stuff. And you're sure you didn't give him access to your cameras? I changed the passwords when we broke up. Clark gave a small, skeptical hum. Passwords can be guessed or reset. My throat tightened. Phase 2 is at 6, Maya said suddenly. That's less than 30 minutes. Ruiz checked his watch. We're not leaving you alone, he said. But unless there's an immediate threat, we can't sit here all night. The house felt like it was listening. Attempt 1, kill the system. Can we shut everything down? I asked. Power, internet. If someone's remote, Clark said, that would cut their access. And if someone's physically here, Maya asked. Then they'd still be here, Ruiz said evenly. I walked to the breaker panel in the basement. The basement door was at the end of the hallway, opposite the kitchen. Normally, it stuck a little. Tonight it opened too smoothly. The stairs creaked as I went down. The air smelled like concrete and laundry detergent. Familiar, grounding. Halfway down, I froze. There was light coming from under the basement door at the bottom of the stairs. I never left the basement light on. My pulse jumped. Maya, I whispered upward. She appeared at the top of the stairs with Ruiz behind her. There's a light on, I said. Ruiz moved past me, hand near his holster, and descended slowly. The door at the bottom was closed. The thin line of yellow light under it glowed steadily. He reached for the knob, paused, looked back at us. Then he opened it. The light flicked off immediately. The room went dark. Maya made a sharp sound. Ruiz stepped inside, flashlight snapping on in one smooth motion. The beams swept across concrete floor, furnace, old washer and dryer, the shelves where I kept paint cans and holiday decorations. Empty. He stepped to the light switch, flicked it. Nothing. Clark came down behind us. Power S out down here, she said. Or bulbs blown, Ruiz muttered. He shined the light up at the fixture. The bulb was intact. He traced the wire along the ceiling. It had been cut, cleanly. The copper ends curled slightly inward. I felt something in my chest tighten in a way that wasn't panic, it was anger, precise, directed. They were down here, I said. Recently, Clark agreed. And the light? Maya asked. Ruiz stepped back toward the stairs. Residual glow, he said. If someone just flipped it off when we opened the door, it can look like that. I replayed it in my mind. The instant the knob turned, the light vanished. Explainable, terrifying anyway. We went to the breaker panel. Ruiz opened it. Half the switches had been flipped off already. He looked at me. You do this? No. Internet line, Clark asked. I followed her gaze to the cable running along the ceiling joists. It had been severed too, neatly. Didn't just monitor you, Clark said. They prepped. For what? Ruiz flipped the breakers back on. Upstairs, the house hummed back to life. The thermostat display brightened. The faint whir of the fan resumed. Internet won't come back without the line, Clark said, so remote access is likely cut. I clung to that word, likely. We went back upstairs. Attempt 1 had partially worked. We'd found and disabled the monitoring device. Cut remote access. But the basement wiring proved something else. Whoever did this had planned for us to investigate. They de-staged the house like a project. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 at 6. Attempt 2, call Mark. I didn't want to. That alone told me I should. Give me his number, Ruiz said. I pulled it up, fingers stiff. Ruiz put the call on speaker. It rang 3 times. Daniel Ruiz, Chicago PD, Ruiz said when Mark answered. We're at Emily Klein's residence. We need to ask you some questions. There was a pause on the other end. Then Mark's voice, steady, irritated. About what? Were you at her house today? No. Do you have a key? I did. I gave it back. When, months ago, I closed my eyes. That wasn't true. I'd never gotten it back. I'd meant to ask. Then it felt petty. Then it felt too late. Have you accessed her security system recently? Clark asked. stepping closer to the phone. "Why would I?" Mark said. "Because someone piggybacked a transmitter onto it." A longer pause this time. "That's not me," Mark said finally. "I don't do that kind of thing." "What kind of thing is that?" Ruiz asked. "Breaking into someone's house," Mark snapped. I opened my eyes. "Mark," I said, stepping toward the phone despite myself. "Did you know I wasn't supposed to be home yet?" Silence. Then softer. "What? You heard me." "I have no idea what you're talking about." There was something in his tone, not outrage, not fear, confusion. "Where are you right now?" Ruiz asked. "At my office, downtown." "I can send you my badge log." "Do that," Ruiz said. The call ended. Maya stared at me. "You never got the key back." "I forgot," I said. The words tasted small. "You forgot," she repeated. "My flaw. Shrink things, delay uncomfortable conversations. Assume it'll be fine." The clock on the microwave ticked to 5:42. The house felt colder now. Not just temperature, emotionally stripped. Like the walls had been wiped of history. Then we heard it. A low mechanical hum. It came from the living room. We all turned at once. The folding chair. It wasn't moving. But behind it, the wall, the freshly painted wall, was vibrating faintly. A subtle tremor. Maya grabbed my arm again. "What is that?" she whispered. Ruiz stepped forward cautiously. He pressed his palm to the wall. "It's hollow," he said. "That wall isn't hollow," I said. "There's brick behind it. This is 100-year-old house." He knocked on it. Instead of the dull thud of plaster over brick, it gave a lighter, boxed sound. Clark circled around, examining the baseboards. "The trim's new," she said. "Look at the nails." I stared. They hadn't just repainted, they debuilt something. The hum grew louder, then, abruptly, it stopped. The silence afterward was worse. Maya's phone buzzed again. She flinched like it had shocked her. Another message from the unknown number. This time, not a photo. A countdown. And beneath it, "Please be seated." The folding chair seemed to loom larger now, positioned perfectly in front of that altered wall. "Bomb," Maya whispered. Ruiz shook his head slowly. No visible wiring, no smell, no ticking. More likely a scare tactic. "Or something else," Clark murmured. My heart hammered against my ribs. If they'd hollowed out that wall, if they'd built something behind it, at 6:17 minutes, we needed to leave. That was the logical move. But if we left, and whatever was behind that wall activated, would it burn the house down? Destroy evidence? Trigger something worse? Ruiz made the call. "Everyone out," he said. "We clear the perimeter and call in additional units." We moved toward the door, and that's when it happened. The front door slammed shut. Hard, not from wind, there wasn't any. Not from a person, no one was near it. The latch clicked, automatically locking. Clark lunged for it, twisting the knob. It wouldn't turn. "Deadbolts engaged," she said. "I didn't touch it," I said. Ruiz crossed the room in 3 strides and tried the knob himself. Solid. Maya's breathing went ragged. "Back door," Clark said. We ran to the kitchen. The back door was there, except it wasn't mine. It was white, new. No pet scratches near the bottom. No dent from when I dropped a chair into it last summer. The knob didn't match the rest of the house. Ruiz grabbed it. "Locked. Windows," Maya said. We rushed to the living room. The windows were still there, but the lower sashes had been screwed shut. Fresh screws, clean heads, not painted over. We hadn't noticed, because we hadn't tried. The countdown on Maya's phone ticked to 00:14:03. My house hadn't just been reset, it had been reconfigured. We were sealed inside. Point of no return. The countdown hit 0, 0, 10, 0, 0, and the house felt smaller. Not physically. Chicago bungalows don't move, but in the way your skin feels too tight when you're stuck somewhere with too much happening inside your own head. Maya's phone glowed in her palm like a warning flare. Ruiz stood at the front door, jaw working, shoulder pressed hard to the frame, as if force alone could persuade a deadbolt. Clark was already moving, scanning seams, hinges, trim, looking for what didn't match. I stood in the living room, staring at the folding chair like it was an insult. Please be seated. In front of the hollow wall. The hum had stopped, but the memory of it stayed in my teeth. Maya's voice cut through. We have to do something, now. Ruiz turned, eyes sharp. You two stay away from that wall. Clark didn't look up. It's not just a wall, it's a panel. What kind of panel? Maya asked. Clark ran her fingers along the baseboard, fresh trim, fastened with finished nails, probably over a framed insert. Someone built a false wall inside your living room. Why? I asked, though my throat was tight enough that the word came out thin. Ruiz checked the time on his watch again. Whatever S at 6, we're not going to wait for it to happen in here. He reached for his radio. The device crackled once, then spat a burst of static so loud all three of us flinched. Clark tapped her own radio. Dispatch, 12 David, more static. Then nothing, just a flat hiss. Jammed, Clark said. Ruiz looked at me. Cell, I lifted my phone. 1 bar, then none. It's not connecting. Maya tried hers. Same. Outside help wasn't coming. Not in time. Not if someone had planned this right, which they had. The microwave clock blinked once, then corrected itself, as if it had never been wrong. 5:50. A small detail. A stupid detail. It made me want to throw something, because it felt like someone else had their hands on the controls of my normal life. Ruiz moved into the living room, stopping several feet behind the folding chair. Emily, he said, voice careful like he was approaching a stray dog. Did you see the backyard when you came in? No, I said. I stayed at the front. Any way out besides doors and windows? There's a basement window well, I said, small, in the laundry room. But we didn't check if it's blocked, Clark finished, already moving toward the hall. Maya grabbed my sleeve. You're not leaving me in here, she hissed. I'm not leaving you, I snapped back, louder than I meant to. And softer, because the sound of my own voice startled me. I'm not. My flaw, right there, control, manage it, keep it contained, fix it myself. Now the fix was bigger than me, and I hated how powerless that made me feel. Clark's footsteps thudded down the basement stairs. A moment later, she called up, it's barricaded. Ruiz's shoulders dropped a fraction, like a weight settling. Of course it is. Maya swallowed hard. What happens at 0? I glanced at her phone. We can't just sit in that chair, I said, and even saying it felt ridiculous. Ruiz's eyes flicked to the hollow wall again. We don't know what the mechanism is. Could be a release, could be a trigger, could be nothing. Then, why the countdown? Maya demanded. Because someone wanted us to feel it. Because someone wanted us to choose wrong. The house made a small sound, an electrical click from somewhere above us, and the HVAC fan increased in speed, a steady rush that made my ears strain to hear anything else. Clark came back up, face tight. Basement window is screwed and sealed. They used construction adhesive. Ruiz nodded once, decision settling in his posture. Okay. He took a slow step forward. Maya's grip tightened on my arm until it hurt. Ruiz, listen, he said, voice low but firm. Someone is inside this system door's power comms. They want you seated in front of that wall at 6. That tells me the wall is part of the threat. If we can breach it before 6, maybe we can disable whatever is behind it. Or we set it off early, Clark said. Or we find a way out through it, Ruiz countered. My stomach rolled. You want to cut through my wall. I want to get you out alive, he said. Maya shook her head. With what? We don't have tools. I did. The thought hit me with a sharp clarity that felt almost like relief. My toolbox, I said. Garage. Maya stared. You don't have a garage. My shed, I corrected, voice faster now. Behind the house. Side gate from the driveway. If they sealed the backyard, the shed might still have tools. Ruiz looked toward the kitchen. Back door's locked. Kitchen window, I said. Over the sink, it slides. Maya's eyes widened. We saw screws. Not that one, I said, and I wasn't sure if I was remembering correctly or just desperate. It's newer. I replaced the lock last year. Ruiz didn't argue. He moved to the kitchen, Clark right behind him. Maya and I followed, tight in the doorway like we didn't want to spread out too far in a house that had turned hostile. Ruiz tried the back door again. Locked. He looked at the kitchen window above the sink. Clark climbed onto the counter, bracing one knee, fingers probing the frame. She tugged. The window shifted half an inch. Unlocked. Got it, she said. Relief flashed through me, hot and brief. Then the window stopped moving. Clark's brow furrowed. She leaned closer. Something S on the track. She slid her fingers underneath, feeling a screw, not visible from inside, driven up through the bottom track at an angle, just enough to catch the window when it opened. Maya let out a sound that wasn't words. They thought of everything. Clark's jaw tightened. She looked at Ruiz. If we can get the screw out, with what? Maya snapped. Our fingernails. Ruiz scanned the kitchen. Knives, flathead, something metal. My eyes fell on the new white fridge. The dented corner, the plain handles. Magnets were gone. Notes were gone. But a drawer handle on the counter, one of the new cabinet pulls, looked slightly loose. I stepped forward and tried it. It wiggled. I yanked. It came off in my hand with 2 short screws still threaded into it. A piece of metal, a makeshift tool. My hands shook as I held it out. This. Clark took it, wedged the thin edge under the screw head on the window track. She twisted. Nothing. She adjusted, bracing harder, and twisted again. The screw moved a fraction. The countdown ticked in Maya's palm. 000503. Clark worked fast, breath short, forearm muscles trembling. The screw turned slowly, stubbornly, like it had been set with intention. Like whoever did this wanted us to burn time. Then it lifted enough for her to grab it. She pulled it free with a sharp jerk. The window slid open with a sudden smoothness. Cold air rushed in. Not outdoor cold, mechanical cold. The HVAC had been overworking, and now it spilled out into the world like an exhale. Clark shoved her shoulders through the opening. Ruiz grabbed the back of her vest and steadied her as she wriggled out. Jenna, Ruiz said, voice tight. Do not go far, just the shed, tools. Clark nodded once and dropped outside. The kitchen felt instantly emptier. Maya pressed her forehead to the counter. That's one of us outside. It's 2 of us still inside, I said, and heard how brittle my voice sounded. Ruiz stayed by the window, peering out, one hand near his holster. Hurry, he muttered. The countdown hit 000330. We stood there listening to the world beyond my house. A car passed, tires on asphalt. Someone yelling a kid's name down the block. Normal sounds, cruelly normal, like the neighborhood didn't know my living room had become a trap. Then Clark's voice hissed faintly from outside. Sheds locked. Ruiz swore under his breath. Can you break it? Padlock, she said. I can try to pry. Maya's phone buzzed again. Another message, a single line. Phase 2 requires compliance. Maya's face crumpled with fury. Compliance, like we're training dogs. Ruiz's eyes never left the window. Emily, any chance you have a key hidden? I did. Everyone does. The idea of being locked out terrified me more than it should have. Under the third stone by the hydrangea, I said, and felt stupid immediately. Like I'd confessed something personal. Ruiz relayed it. Clark, third stone by hydrangea. A moment later, she said, got it. My lungs released a breath. The countdown hit 000210. We could still get tools. We could still breach the wall. We could still get out. That was the story my mind tried to write. Then I heard it, not upstairs this time, right behind the hollow wall. A faint scuffing sound, like something being dragged along plywood. Slow, deliberate. Maya's eyes snapped to mine. Ruiz turned, face hardening. The folding chair sat in front of the wall like an invitation. The scuffing stopped. Then the hum started again, louder than before, vibrating through the floor. It wasn't electrical buzz. It was motor-driven, something spooling up. Maya's phone showed 000133. Ruiz, I whispered. What is that? He didn't answer. He moved into the living room, taking position between us and the chair, gun now drawn, but pointed down, not at the wall, because you don't shoot drywall hoping it fixes your problem. The house lights flickered. 1, 2, 3 times, then steadied. The hum rose in pitch. The smell of fresh paint sharpened, and under it another smell, hot plastic. Clark shouted from outside, muffled through the open kitchen window. I'm coming back in tools. Now, Ruiz barked. The countdown hit 000100. Maya clutched my arm. We can't stay. Window, I said. We can go out the window. Ruiz shook his head sharply. If we leave the house unsecured, Maya snapped, voice cracking. It's already. A hard thump from behind the hollow wall cut her off. A panel shifted. The baseboard lifted a hair. Ruiz moved fast. He grabbed the folding chair and yanked it aside like it burned him. The chair scraped across the floor, shrieking metal on wood. The hum peaked. The wall gave a sudden, shallow bow outward, as if pressure was building behind it. Maya stumbled back, dragging me with her. Emily, Ruiz said, voice urgent, get to the kitchen window. Now. My feet moved before my brain caught up. Maya followed, breath coming in gasps. Ruiz stayed in the living room. He was the only one with authority in the room, and I watched him choose a line to hold like it was instinct. The countdown hit 000030. Clark's hands appeared at the window, pushing something inside, a red metal crowbar. Then her face, tense, sweaty. Go, she hissed. Go, go. Maya swung one leg over the sink, grimacing as her hip bumped the metal faucet. She started to wriggle through. I didn't move. My eyes were on Ruiz. He was standing in my living room, my cleared out, wiped clean living room, staring at that wall, as if staring could stop it. My private fear wasn't being embarrassed or looking incompetent. It was losing control and having someone else pay for it. Maya snapped, voice sharp. Move. The wall made a cracking sound, not like breaking plaster, like splitting plywood. The panel bowed again. Ruiz lunged forward and slammed his shoulder into the section just above the baseboard, bracing his weight like he was trying to keep something from opening. The hum became a scream. 0, 0, 0, 0, 10. I grabbed the crowbar with both hands and ran back into the living room. My shoes slid on the plastic sheeting. My heart felt too large for my chest. "Emily, no," Ruiz shouted. But I was already there. The wall shuddered, and the seam at the base opened a fraction. A ribbon of air blew out, cold and sharp, carrying that hot plastic smell stronger now. I jammed the crowbar into the seam. Metal scraped. I levered. The seam widened, and I saw something behind it. Not a person. A metal cylinder, strapped upright between studs. A thick hose coiled around it like a sleeping snake. A small control box with wires leading upward. Not a bomb, a fire suppression canister. No, too big, too industrial. Ruiz saw it too. His eyes widened just a fraction. "Propane," Clark breathed from behind me, having rushed in from the kitchen with her weapon drawn. She pointed at the cylinder's label. My stomach dropped. The cylinder wasn't propane for grill. It was a compressed gas canister, industrial, maybe for paint spraying, maybe something else. But the smell now made sense. Solvent, plastic, something flammable. They weren't going to blow us up like a movie. They were going to fill the room, reset, sanitized, restore surfaces. Surfaces sanitized. The countdown hit 000003. Ruiz grabbed my collar and yanked me backward just as the control box behind the wall clicked. A valve hissed. White fog burst from the seam in a forceful plume, blasting into the living room like someone had opened a pressurized fire extinguisher the size of a person. It hit my face, and I gagged immediately, eyes burning. Maya screamed from the kitchen doorway. Clark grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the hall, shouting, "Window! Window!" The fog spread fast, low at first, then rising, swallowing the floor, crawling up the walls. It didn't behave like smoke. It was heavier. It rolled and pooled, a chemical mist. Ruiz coughed once, hard, then again, his shoulders jerking. He tried to push into the fog toward the panel, crowbar still in my hand, but Clark shoved him back. "Out," she yelled. "Daniel, out." He resisted for half a second, stubborn, protective. Then his knees buckled slightly as he sucked in another breath. That breath cost him. His hand went to his throat. His eyes watered instantly. "Ruiz," I shouted, voice raw. He shook his head, trying to wave us away, trying to speak. Nothing came out but a strangled rasp. Clark wrapped an arm around his torso and hauled him toward the kitchen, moving with pure adrenaline. Maya was at the window, half in, half out, hands shaking as she tried to make space. "Go," Maya screamed. "Go, go." Clark shoved Ruiz up onto the counter. He tried to help with his arms, but his coordination was gone, body fighting for oxygen. His face had turned a terrifying blotchy red. The fog reached the kitchen doorway. It smelled like paint thinner and melted plastic. It made my lungs seize as soon as it touched the back of my throat. I climbed onto the counter, hands slipping on the smooth surface, and shoved Ruiz's boots toward the window. Clark pushed from behind, her jaw clenched so hard her cheek muscles stood out. Ruiz's legs disappeared outside first, then his hips, then his shoulders. He got stuck for a second, vest catching on the frame. Clark swore and yanked. The vest tore slightly with a ripping sound. Ruiz slid out, dropping to the ground outside with a dull thud and a choking grunt. Maya fell out after him, landing awkwardly on the grass. She cried out, pain sharp and immediate, her ankle. The way she grabbed it told me before she said anything. Clark shoved me. "Emily," I wriggled through the window, scraping my forearm on the track. Pain flared bright. Blood smeared on the white paint. I dropped outside and hit the ground hard enough to knock the breath out of me. For a second, I lay there on damp grass, staring up at the sky like it was a miracle. Then I rolled over and coughed until my chest burned. Behind me, the kitchen window belched fog like the house was exhaling poison. Clark dropped out last, landing in a crouch, gun up immediately, scanning. "Daniel," she barked, kneeling by Ruiz. He was on his side, gasping, one hand clawing at the grass. His eyes were wide, wet, unfocused. Clark ripped open his vest collar, trying to get air to his neck. "Stay with me, stay with me." Maya sat up, clutching her ankle, face pinched in pain. My foot, I know," I rasped, crawling toward her. My lungs felt like sandpaper. My eyes streamed. Clark pulled her radio again, no signal. She cursed and grabbed her phone. No service. Ruiz managed a thin, ragged inhale, then another. He wasn't unconscious, but he was struggling. "Move him," Clark said to me. Away from the window. We grabbed Ruiz under the arms and dragged him across the yard. He was heavier than I expected, dead weight when your own arms were shaking. His boots tore grooves in the grass. Maya tried to stand and nearly fell. I caught her under the shoulder, and pain speared through my scraped forearm. We got to the side of the house, near the driveway, where the air was cleaner. Ruiz lay back, chest rising and falling in shallow jerks. Clark pressed her fingers to his wrist, then his throat, eyes locked, calculating. He's breathing. He's breathing. The fog inside the house intensified. Through the window, the living room was white. Blank. Reset. A new message pinged on Maya's phone. Signal flickered for 1 second, just enough. She looked at the screen and then at me, eyes wide with something close to nausea. "What?" I asked. She held it out. A photo, taken from outside this time. All 4 of us in the yard, Maya on the ground clutching her ankle, me bent over coughing, Clark kneeling over Ruiz. Timestamp. 6:00 p.m. text beneath. Phase 2 complete. Clark stared at it, then at the house. Her face hardened into something cold. "They're still watching," she said. Ruiz coughed again, weaker this time, and turned his head toward me. His voice was shredded, barely a whisper. "Emily," he rasped. "Keys." I blinked at him. "What?" He swallowed painfully. "Key access. The white van. The key. Mark's missing key. The hidden spare under the hydrangea. My stupid little secret stone. The transmitter. The cut wires. It wasn't one thing. It was all of it. And it wasn't over just because we got outside." I looked at my house, my emptied house, breathing chemical fog into the evening air, and I understood, with a sick clarity, that the reset wasn't about furniture. It was about control. And now they'd proved they could do it with us inside. The immediate threat had resolved. Phase 2 had fired, and we survived. But the cost was laid out in front of me. Ruiz struggling to breathe, Maya's swelling ankle, my scraped arm and shredded nerves, and the knowledge that someone could still reach into my life, like a hand, into an open drawer. We weren't dead, but we weren't safe, not even standing under an open sky. The first real siren didn't arrive until the fog had already thinned into something you could pretend was just an ugly memory. It started faint, far off on a main road, then got louder, rolling down the side streets like sound bouncing off brick. Clark had managed to get a single bar of service by walking halfway down my driveway and holding her phone up like an offering to the sky. She spoke in clipped bursts, address, officer down, chemical exposure, possible booby trap, request for fire and hazmat. Stay with me, she kept saying to Ruiz, not pleading, just commanding. Breathe, in, out, slow. Ruiz tried. Every inhale sounded like sand dragged across metal. His eyes had gone red-rimmed and glassy, and the skin on his neck blotched in patches, like his body couldn't decide if it wanted to swell or shut down. Maya sat on the grass near the driveway, her hands wrapped around her ankle, face pale with pain and anger. She stopped crying out. That was never her style. Now she just stared at the house like she was memorizing it for court. I held my forearm against my stomach, the scrape burning where the window track had bitten me. It wasn't a dramatic injury, just skin and blood, and a sting that kept reminding me I had been dragged out of my own home like an intruder. Clark glanced up at me. You okay? I swallowed. My throat felt raw, like I'd been yelling for hours, even though I hadn't. I'm here. She nodded once, as if that was the only answer she needed. We didn't go back toward the kitchen window. We didn't even look directly at it after a while. The house could do whatever it wanted with itself. The white fog continued to leak and drift, clinging low to the floor inside like it was searching for corners. When the first fire engine turned onto the block, neighbors finally came out. Not in a swarm, not the way TV shows love to do it, but in hesitant pockets. Someone in slippers, holding a phone up to record, a teenager pretending not to care, the Cubs cap neighbor standing in his garage doorway with his hose still in his hand. He looked more confused than frightened, like he'd missed the start of something and didn't know how bad it was supposed to be. The fire truck pulled up hard, brakes squealing. 2 firefighters hopped out first, then a third, and then a captain in a white helmet who took in the scene in one glance. Open kitchen window, fog, officer on the ground, another officer kneeling, 2 civilians coughing. Hazmat, someone shouted. We got chemical dispersal. The word dispersal sounded clinical and calm, which made it worse. They moved with practiced efficiency. Masks, gloves, a stretcher. Ruiz got an oxygen mask pressed to his face before he could protest. Clark tried to speak to the paramedic, but her voice broke mid-sentence. She blinked hard once, angry at herself, then kept talking, forcing the words out. Maya's ankle was wrapped in a compression bandage, then strapped. One of the EMTs asked her to rate her pain from 1 to 10, and Maya barked a humorless laugh. It's annoying, she said, and the EMT nodded like he'd heard that answer from people who didn't want to give pain the satisfaction of being acknowledged. Someone asked me if I'd been sprayed directly. I shook my head. I wasn't sure. It all felt like it had hit everything at once. They guided me to the sidewalk, made me sit on the curb. Another paramedic shined a light in my eyes, asked me to follow his finger. He had that steady, friendly voice that could have been comforting if my brain didn't keep sprinting back into the living room, to the seam in the wall, to the hiss. You feeling dizzy? He asked. No, I lied. Then, after a beat, maybe. He scribbled something on a clipboard and handed me a small paper cup of water. The water tasted like plastic. Or maybe everything did now. Behind him, firefighters in full-face respirators went into my home. Watching them disappear through my front door made my stomach twist. The door, my door, had been the boundary between me and whatever this was, and now it was just an opening in a set. Clark stayed close to Ruiz as he was loaded into the ambulance. He gripped her wrist weakly when they lifted him, as if he didn't want to let go of the only stable thing left. "I'm coming," she told him. "I'm right behind you." He tried to speak through the oxygen mask, but it came out as a wet cough. The paramedic adjusted the mask and told him not to talk. Ruiz's eyes flicked toward me once, brief, apologetic, like he was sorry he couldn't fix this cleanly. Then the doors shut and the ambulance pulled away. Clark watched it go. She looked suddenly younger, without her confidence holding her up. "I should be in that ambulance," Maya said quietly. Clark turned. "He's stable." "Stable doesn't mean okay," Maya replied. Clark's gaze slid to my house again. "No," she said, "it doesn't." 2 hazmat techs emerged 20 minutes later carrying the cylinder and the control box in a sealed tub. They moved like they were handling something that could still bite. A firefighter captain spoke to Clark, then to a detective who had arrived in an unmarked sedan, then to someone in a suit who looked out of place on my street. There were too many uniforms now, too many radios, too many people stepping carefully over my front lawn like the grass itself was evidence. When the detective finally approached me, she crouched so her face was level with mine, as if we were talking about something private. Detective Laura Hennigan, 45, female, dark hair cut blunt at her jaw, eyes that looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with lack of sleep, and everything to do with years of seeing the worst versions of people. "Emily Klein?" she asked. "Yes, I'm Detective Hennigan," she said. "This is going to be a lot of questions. We're going to do it twice. Once now, once again when you've slept. I want you to know that forgetting details is normal." I almost laughed at the idea of sleeping. She started with the basics. When did I leave for work? Who had keys? Did I have contractors? Any recent disputes? Any threats? When she asked about Mark, my throat tightened. "Ex-boyfriend," I said. "He had a key at one point." "At one point," she repeated. "Do you have that key now?" I shook my head slowly. Maya made a sharp sound beside me, half breath, half accusation. Detective Hennigan wrote something down. "We'll talk to him," she said. It wasn't reassurance. It was procedure. "And the envelope," Maya blurted suddenly. Her voice was shaky now, the anger burning down into something more frantic. "The envelope that came to me." Hennigan looked at her. "Envelope." Maya realized in that moment that we hadn't said it out loud to anyone official yet, not really. It had been drowned out by fog and radios, and trying to keep Ruiz breathing. "I got mail for Emily today," Maya said. "At my apartment. It's unopened. I left it there." Hennigan's eyes sharpened slightly. "Didn't you bring it?" Maya's face flushed. "Because I drove here like a maniac because my sister's house was," she gestured helplessly. "Because I didn't know." Hennigan nodded once. "Okay, don't touch it. We'll send someone." Maya stared at her. "You can do that." "Yes," Hennigan said. "We can do that." The normality of that sentence hit me oddly hard. We can send someone. Like there were systems and steps and forms, and people whose job it was to make sure objects were handled correctly. Like the world still had rules. While Hennigan spoke with Clark, I sat on the curb and watched my street settle into a new shape around the event. Kids had been pulled inside. Curtains moved. People spoke in low voices. The Cubs' cap neighbor walked over finally, hose set aside, and stood awkwardly a few feet away. "You okay?" he asked. His voice was cautious, like he didn't want to intrude on something too big. I looked at him and realized I'd never really looked at him before. Dee lived across from each other for almost 2 years, and I only knew him as Guy with the Cubs hat. "I don't know," I said honestly. He nodded slowly as if that made sense. I'm Tom, he offered. 51, male. He almost smiled, but it didn't quite work. If you need anything, phone charger, water, place to sit. Thanks, I said. And then, because my brain was still trying to anchor itself in small, safe facts, I asked, did you see the van? Tom's brow furrowed. Van. White. No logo. This morning. He shook his head. I was at work until 3. My wife works from home, but she's in the back room. I can ask. Please, I said. He nodded and hurried back across the street. Maya leaned her shoulder against mine. She smelled like her shampoo, something citrusy, and it made my eyes sting in a different way than the chemical fog had. You didn't call me back right away, she said softly, not accusing, just stating. I didn't want to freak you out, I said. She gave a quiet laugh that held no humor. You came home to a house that looked like it had been wiped. I was already freaked out. I stared at my hands. They were trembling slightly. I pressed my palm down on my knee to steady it. I thought I could handle it, I admitted. I know, Maya said, and there was love and frustration tangled together in those 2 words. That's your thing. My flaw, manage it, make it smaller. Keep it inside the box. It had been a comfort before. Now it was a crack. I watched as firefighters carried out my couch, my actual couch wrapped in plastic. For a moment, my heart lifted. Proof it hadn't been erased. Proof I wasn't imagining my own belongings. Then I realized what they were doing. They weren't returning it. They were bagging evidence. My life tagged and moved as if it belonged to someone else. Detective Hennigan came back, holding her phone up. We have a warrant request in process for your camera provider, she said. We're going to pull logs. We're also going to have a tech team come through the house. It's a crime scene now. The words crime scene landed with a dull finality. Can I started, then stopped, because I didn't know what I was asking. Can I go home? Can I get my laptop? Can I grab my passport? Can I just exist? You can't stay here tonight, Hennigan said, reading my face. Not until we clear it and change every access point. Locks, windows, anything that's been modified. Maya's head snapped up. She can stay with me. Hennigan nodded. Good. It should have made me feel safer. Instead, something cold settled in my gut. The envelope. The fact that my name had been sent to Maya's address. The fact that the message came to Maya's phone. This wasn't just my house. It was my network, my routines, the quiet map of my life. Do you have pets? Hennigan asked. No, I said automatically. Then I thought about the old leash that had been on my coat rack, now gone, and felt sick in a strange, petty way. Any firearms? No. Any medications in the house? Just ibuprofen, I said. She wrote it down anyway. Clark came back over, her face pale now that the adrenaline had drained. Ruiz is at Northwestern, she said quietly. They're treating him for inhalation injury. He'll be okay, but he's not okay. I nodded. Words didn't come. Clark looked at my scraped arm. You should get checked too. It's fine, I said, automatically minimizing. Maya shot me a look. You're going. I'm fine, I repeated. Clark's voice sharpened slightly. Emily, you inhaled something unknown. You got out fast, that's good, but you need a medical record. If you develop symptoms later, you need documentation. A procedural reason. It landed better than concern. Okay, I said. Hennigan handed me a business card. It looked absurdly plain for something tied to this day. If you remember anything, call me. I took it. The sun sank lower, the street lights flickering on. The fire truck lights painted my house in intermittent red for a while, making the windows look like blinking eyes. At some point, Tom's wife came over with a phone charger and a bottle of water. Tom hovered behind her, hands shoved in his pockets. "I didn't see the van," his wife said apologetically. "I was in meetings all morning. I'm sorry." "It's okay," I said, and meant it. It wasn't her job to notice the quiet ways the world shifts. By the time Maya and I limped to her car, her ankles strapped, my lungs sore, it was fully dark. Clark stayed behind to coordinate with Hennigan. She squeezed Ruiz's torn vest in one hand, like she didn't want to let go of anything that still felt solid. Maya drove with her jaw clenched, one hand on the wheel, the other gripping my phone because mine had started acting strange again, service blinking in and out like a weak heartbeat. We didn't talk much, not because we didn't have anything to say, but because every sentence felt like it would open a door we weren't ready to walk through. At Maya's apartment, the stairwell smelled like fried onions from someone's dinner and the dusty warmth of old radiators. Ordinary, safe. She unlocked her door and we stepped inside. Her living room was cluttered in the way mine had been before it was wiped. Throw pillows, a pile of laundry on the couch, a mug ring on the coffee table. It made my throat tighten. "I'm going to get the envelope," Maya said immediately, voice brisk, trying to become functional again. "It's in the kitchen," she added, as if my legs were attached to her voice. "On the counter. I didn't touch it after I came here." We stood in front of it. A large manila envelope, no return address. My name printed neatly. Maya's address beneath. It looked harmless, like paperwork, like tax documents. Maya put on rubber dish gloves from under her sink. She handed me another pair. I stared at them. "Do we really need?" "Yes," she said, and the firmness in her voice made me comply without argument. She slid a butter knife under the seal carefully and opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Thick, matte, like the laminated checklist, but not laminated. At the top, in the same bold font, "Reset, Phase 3 pending," below it, a short paragraph. "Thank you for participating. Compliance improves outcomes. Failure to comply creates waste." And then at the bottom, something that made my stomach hollow out. "Next appointment, Saturday, 9:00 a.m. It wasn't tomorrow. It wasn't a countdown. It was a scheduled time, like this was a service, like my life was a project timeline. Maya's hand trembled slightly as she held the page. "What does that mean?" I stared at the words until they blurred. "It means," I started, and realized I didn't know what it meant, not fully. But I knew what it implied. They didn't just want to scare me. They wanted to condition me, to make me respond to their schedule the way I responded to work meetings and dentist appointments. A knock at Maya's door made both of us flinch hard. Maya froze, knife still in her gloved hand. Another knock, firm, normal. I held my breath. Maya moved slowly to the peephole and looked. Her shoulders dropped slightly. "It's a cop," she whispered. She opened the door. A uniformed officer stood there holding a clear evidence bag. "Ma'am." "Maya Klein?" "Yes. Detective Hennigan sent me for the envelope," he said. Maya held up the already opened paper, guilt flashing across her face. We opened it. The officer's expression didn't change much. "Okay, I'll take it. I need you to explain exactly how you handled it." Maya nodded, swallowing. I stood behind her, the paper still visible in her hand, and felt the day settle into something that would keep going long after tonight. The officer bagged the sheet carefully, asked a few questions, then left. The door clicked shut. Maya locked it, then locked it again, as if the second click could erase something. She leaned back against it and looked at me, You're staying here. I know, I whispered. Maya's eyes filled, not with melodrama, but with exhaustion. I hate this. I know. She pushed off the door and limped toward her couch. We're changing your number, she said, tomorrow, and my locks, and you're buying new locks, and you're getting therapy because you always think you can handle everything by yourself. And she stopped abruptly, pressed a fist to her mouth, and breathed through it. I sat on the edge of her coffee table. My hands were still shaking, even now, even here. Outside, a car passed. Headlights briefly swept across the curtains. Ordinary. Maya's phone lay on the couch. Mine lay beside it, both dark. The room was quiet in a way that felt safe for about 3 seconds. Then Maya's phone screen lit up. No sound, just light. A new message preview appeared at the top. Unknown number. Maya and I stared at it. Neither of us moved. The preview text was short. Confirmation received. No countdown this time. No photo. Just an acknowledgement, like the system had registered something. My skin prickled. My stomach clenched. Maya slowly turned her phone face down, as if that could make it untrue. We sat there in the warm, cluttered living room that smelled like onion and laundry soap, and listened to the radiator hiss. Almost ordinary. But the cracks were there, running under everything. And I knew, with an awful clarity, that I would never again walk through my own front door without wondering who else had been invited inside. And that's the end of today's chilling tale. If you enjoyed this story and want more nights full of suspense, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and turn on the bell so you never miss a scare. I've got plenty more stories waiting for you, so stick around and check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe and don't look behind you.